Chapter 630 The Feelings of the Celestial Spirit God. Seeing Gu An's silence, the Celestial Spirit God did not disturb him. After all, the method he proposed was not absolutely without problems, and if Guan refused, he would not be in a hurry. Before coming here, he had already considered all kinds of situations. Having decided to serve Guan, he had to take a firm stand, thinking about problems from Gu An's perspective. After a while, Guan asked, "How sure are you about getting Tianhao into the misty immortal court?" The Celestial Spirit God replied, "I have a close friend who comes from the misty immortal court. Although his status is not very high, helping Tianhao to join the court is certainly not a difficult task. The rest will depend on Tianhao's destiny, and we can only do so much. Individual fate still depends on one's own efforts." Guan thought for a moment and said, "Then let him choose." The Celestial Spirit God raised his eyebrow, asking, "You want to tell him all this? He is now grown up, qualified to choose his own fate. If he is manipulated by you and me, how are we any different from the immortal monarchs?" Gu An's reply gave the Celestial Spirit God a deeper understanding of him. It seemed that Guan had no designs on benefiting from Tianhao. Being able to act according to his own wishes, without fearing the threat of the immortal monarchs, also showed that Guan was very confident in his own cultivation level. What do you need me to do?" The Celestial Spirit God nodded and then asked. Guan revealed a smile, saying, "Keep doing what you were doing before." After hearing this, the Celestial Spirit God furrowed his brow and hesitantly asked, "Do you think him not qualified to help you?" Remembering how he had been defeated by Guan, his expression became unnatural. "That's certainly not the case. You are a celestial god, your duty is to protect all living beings, and I temporarily do not need you to do things for me. I have already received your intentions, and we will get along very well in the future. As for the two immortal monarchs, if they come, you don't need to stand up for me, I have my own ways to deal with them." Guan explained, which surprisingly made the Celestial Spirit God feel ashamed. Being cast into reincarnation by Guan, even though Guan said it was to let him experience the thoughts of mortal spirits and to cultivate a sense of compassion, the Celestial Spirit God did not take it to heart. He always felt that Guan did this to suppress him, to make him submit. Now it seemed that Guan truly cared for all living beings. What kind of magnanimity was this? The Celestial Spirit God could not imagine it. He had seen many immortal gods, but it seemed that none were capable of reaching the extent of Gu An's actions. The immortal gods often touted their own justice and great kindness, but their attitude towards all living beings was one of indifference, respecting fate and the rules of heaven and earth. Alright, now that we've talked about these things, it's time to properly enjoy some wine. Recently, the Jianghu sect introduced a type of drama that exhibits mythological stories, primarily highlighting emotional expression during character dialogues, which sounds very interesting. Let's go and see it together later. Guan cheerfully said and then poured wine for the Celestial Spirit God. The Celestial Spirit God felt puzzled. With their levels of cultivation, how could a drama from the mortal world possibly be interesting, and besides, they didn't need to go there in person, they could hear it from here. However, faced with Gu An's invitation, he did not refuse. In his view, Guan was doing this for two reasons. One was to show goodwill and the other might hold deeper meanings. Next, the two talked only about human affairs, and the Celestial Spirit God gradually relaxed, his thoughts drifting to a woman within the Jianghu sect. Back in the day, the three of them traveled the world together. Now, all within the same sect, even as a celestial god, the Celestial Spirit God had a very peculiar feeling. SEA the Novel Fire, net website on Google to access chapters of novels early and in the highest quality. The news of the great defeat of the innate human race swept across the world like a storm. The Dao court especially promoted this news vigorously. A legendary name once again broke into the ears of the people of the world. Supporting Dao Sword Venerable. After that battle had ended, the Dao court held a discussion, and combined with the legends from the human world, they deduced that the mysterious savior was the legendary supporting Dao sword venerable. To all living beings, supporting Dao sword venerable was ancient, but to the great cultivators, not so distant. In the beginning, when the great thousand world had not yet reunited, although they were not within the celestial spirit great world, they had felt the vast aura of the supporting Dao sword venerable. They knew that the supporting Dao sword venerable truly existed. Not only that, but rumors about the relationship between Wuxia and the supporting Dao sword venerable also began to circulate. However, because many sects claimed to have a connection with the supporting Dao sword venerable, the relationship between Wuxia and the supporting Dao sword venerable didn't cause much of a stir. Time swiftly passed by. A new year arrived. Tianhao returned to the Qianquan sect. Before he had set foot in the Daoist field of the beginningless, he was summoned by Guan. Following the sound, he arrived at a cliffside and saw that there was another person standing next to Guan, also with their back to him. Looking at the figure of this person, he couldn't help but be stunned, his expression turning peculiar. This person was the celestial spirit god. The moment Tianhao saw the back of the celestial spirit god, an indescribable mix of emotions welled up inside him. Guan and the celestial spirit god turned together, and in the sunlight, they both radiated an otherworldly aura that seemed to merge with the great heaven and earth, leaving Tianhao inexplicably bewildered. He came back to his senses, quickly stepped forward, and bowed respectfully to Guan. "Today I called you here to tell you some matters. All you need to do is listen, do not ask questions until we have finished speaking." Guan spoke, leaving Tianhao feeling baffled. After that, Guan began with the introduction of Tianhao's mortal identity in this life. When Tianhao learned that the mysterious man next to Guan was his biological father, he was shocked and wanted to ask questions, but was silenced by Guan's gaze. Once Guan had finished explaining Tianhao's mortal ancestry, the celestial spirit god started to recount the karma of Tianhao with the heavenly Dao. Emperor Ziwei, celestial spirit immortal venerable, profound star immortal monarch, Tai immortal monarch, golden extreme god, 72 immortals of Jin Dong, and so on. Hearing all these names, Tianhao felt dizzy. He had not expected his karma to be so complex and daunting. When he learned that in his past life he had also been a disciple of his master, he was deeply moved. How could the master-disciple bond that spanned reincarnations not touch his heart? Especially since he had always been the one being taken care of. Even knowing that the celestial spirit god was his biological father, Tianhao still regarded Guan as the most important and most respected person in his life. An hour later, Guan and the celestial spirit god looked at Tianhao, waiting for his choice. Tianhao clenched his fists, his face alternating between expressions, and finally, he took a deep breath and said, "I choose to go to the misty immortal court. I should be the one to resolve my own troubles, rather than always rely on you both. I will prove my worth in the misty immortal court, and I also wish to ascend to immortality, to surpass these immortal monarchs. No matter their intentions, I will make them regret." He raised his eyes to Guan, his gaze firm. There was something he didn't say, but Guan could hear it in his heart. Guan smiled and said, "Then I will start looking forward to the day you surpass me, hoping that in the future, you can be my pillar of support." Tianhao's eyes widened, and an embarrassed smile appeared on his face. His master had guessed his thoughts again. The celestial spirit god, watching Tianhao's interaction with Guan, felt a tinge of envy. Before coming clean to Tianhao, he had to admit that he was somewhat looking forward to Tianhao's reaction. He had thought Tianhao might be surprised or angry, but he never expected Tianhao to be so calm toward him, as if it did not matter at all who his father was. If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know to report so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 631. Because she's the one who resembles me the most. Hearing Tianhao's choice, Guan's face showed a gratified smile as he reflected, "My young disciple has indeed grown up, knowing he must take on his own responsibilities." Having said that, he stepped forward, moving past Tian Hao. Tian Hao turned around, his gaze following Guan. Just as he was about to speak, he heard Guan say, "I have entrusted you to your father." At these words, Tian Hao stopped in his tracks and turned his head to look at the celestial spirit god, furrowing his brow. He had a strong aversion to this biological father. From childhood to adulthood, he never lacked a father's love because, in his heart, his master was akin to a father, and he had always been happy without feeling the need for any inexplicably emerging familial bonds. The celestial spirit god, seeing through his thoughts, spoke expressionlessly, "I don't intend to continue any familial ties, but rather to head to the misty immortal court. You do well to become stronger. I will pass on divine skills to you. Before leaving, you can bid farewell to old acquaintances and also meet your mother." After hearing this, Tian Hao asked in surprise, "My mother? Where is she?" "She's within the Qianquan sect." "What?" Tian Hao was shocked and suddenly felt at a loss. The celestial spirit god raised his right hand, and a dazzling light enveloped Tian Hao's face. In his eyes, the celestial spirit god seemed to have changed. The terrifying cloud that had loomed over the celestial spirit great world for thousands of years eventually dissipated, and the innate demon race members of the human world swiftly vanished, with celebrations erupting everywhere for this victory. Promoted by the Dao court and other major sects, the supporting Dao sword venerable became a known figure in the immortal cultivation realm within just a few decades, even reaching the years of mortals with his legend. His reputation swiftly surpassed that of the profound star immortal monarch. Cth Nefire. @ website on Google to access chapters of novels early and in the highest quality. The followers of the profound star immortal monarch, who had been developing for tens of thousands of years, could not compete with a single action by the supporting Dao sword venerable. The common people were not fools. They truly felt the threat posed by the innate human race and thus felt a profound gratitude towards the supporting Dao sword venerable. Since the profound star immortal monarch had never sheltered them, how could the two be compared? There were even claims that the innate human race had been sent by the faction of immortal gods led by the profound star immortal monarch, suggesting that only those in suffering and despair would hope for the salvation of immortal gods. Such provocative statements spread quickly. Time passed in this context. Whether it was the profound star immortal monarch or the Tai immortal monarch, neither sent forth immortal gods again, and as time passed, the influence of the supporting Dao sword venerable's world-saving deeds began to wane since there were always new figures arising to pique people's curiosity. 300 years later. Inside the Daoist field of the beginningless, the day was sunny with clear skies and shimmering waters, and even the breeze carried a coolness with it. In the courtyard, Guan was instructing Shenzhen in artifact refining, who was using his artifact refining cauldron. Guan no longer crafted Dao treasures himself, but the cauldron, having been used to create many treasures, had essentially reached the standard of Dao treasures, with outstanding refining capabilities. Looking across the entire celestial spirit great world, no other cauldron could compare with Guan's artifact refining cauldron. An Xian appeared out of thin air behind Guan and asked, "Master, Tian Hao is going to outer heaven, and he said you've agreed. Is that true?" Her tone was somewhat anxious. Although Tian Hao had grown up, outer heaven was incredibly dangerous, and Tian Hao was not yet at a level where he could ignore its threats. Moreover, from what she understood of Tian Hao's intent, this trip seemed like a farewell, as he was unlikely to return. An Xian hadn't been overly warm to Tian Hao from childhood, mainly finding it awkward and always reminded of An Hao when she saw him. But now that she knew Tian Hao was the reincarnation of An Hao, her feelings toward him had naturally changed. Her senior brother had always been like this, she had said farewell to him more than once. Without the master, she felt An Hao would have died many times over, a concept she couldn't grasp and wished to oppose. Guan, with his back toward An Xian, said, "This time he's not leaving for himself." "What do you mean?" An Xian asked. Just as the words left her mouth, she suddenly thought of something. Could it be that the innate human race is here because of Tian Hao? She then thought of Hao from her past life, who died to save this world. It seemed like Hao never lived for himself, his birth was always accompanied by a mission. Perhaps to the family he was an irresponsible ancestor, but he certainly did not owe anything to all living beings, he even had the merit of saving the world. Guan did not answer Xian but continued to instruct Shenzhen on artifact refining. Although Shenzhen was curious about why Hao had left, she did not ask. Ever since she started following Guan, she saw many people come to Guan's side, and also saw many people leave. In Shenzhen's eyes, within the Daoist field of the beginningless, only Xian and celestial demon child were like her, able to accompany Guan continuously, everyone else more or less yearned for the outside world. It could even be said that they only endured here to become stronger. Xian stood still, quickly understanding. Her master saw things more clearly than she did, and Hao's destiny pattern was not something she could imagine. She and Hao were never on the same path, they were just born in the same place as children. After a long time, when Xian completely let go, she was about to turn and leave when Guan suddenly called out to her, Xian, in a while, come with your master on a trip. Xian couldn't help but ask in confusion, where to? Immortal Seeking Island? Guan looked at her and laughed, let's go see the place Hao wanted to go. Upon hearing this, Zin's eyes widened, revealing a look of delighted surprise. After hearing this, Shenzhen immediately turned her head to look at Guan, wanting to speak, but he pressed his left index finger to her mouth, silencing her. She could only widen her eyes, looking at him with a resentful expression. Okay. Xian quickly said and then vanished on the spot. Guan then walked towards his own house. Shenzhen asked, aren't you afraid that she'll tell Hao since you told her in advance? Without turning his head, Guan said, she won't do that. Why? Because she is the most like me. Shenzhen was stunned, carefully pondering the commonalities between Xian and Guan. Under the night sky, atop a majestic peak, sat a temple without a roof, and on the high platform inside, a figure was meditating. It was Jianghu. The current Jianghu had a presence that was entirely different from before, his stature was even more imposing. Draped in a black robe embroidered with a yellow dragon, his long hair fluttered slightly. Even though he was sitting with his eyes closed, he emitted an extremely dangerous aura. A figure appeared out of thin air in the temple, a ragged-looking man. It was Su Yu, who had once shared hardship with Jianghu. Even after following Jianghu to attain immense power, Su Yu still maintained a beggar-like appearance, making his true cultivation level inscrutable. My demon emperor, are you still here studying divine skills, forgetting about the matter we agreed on? Su Yu asked in a whining teasing tone. Jianghu opened his eyes and looked at him, unperturbed, asking, so soon? Just right, there's a transcendental being gathering forces. Although it's the lowest celestial Dao immortal position, the chances are good, much easier than the trials inside the celestial Dao immortal stone, Su Yu said with a smile. Jianghu hesitated and asked, if I go, how long will it be before I can return? What about our empire? First, secure a foothold upon arrival. That transcendental being wants to take down someone who offended him. This mission is likely about subduing an entire great thousand world. Hard to say how long it will take. As for this demon race imperial dynasty, why worry? It will not face tribulation for a myriad of years to come. You should have confidence, our deterrent power is very strong, Su Yu replied. By the end, his tone held a hint of dissatisfaction. Jianghu always managed to find something wrong. He had seen other demon emperors and demon emperors of different great thousand worlds, even witnessed an emperor at the end of the demon race's causality. In his view, Jianghu, as a demon emperor, still fell short. If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know to report so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 632, The Fortune of the Immortal Emperor's Eye. Although Su Yu's words were sharp, Zhang Buku had grown accustomed to them, so you played an undeniable role in his journey to this day. In critical moments, Su was always so reliable, and more than once rescued him from desperate situations. Their bond had long since become one of life and death trust. Then let's go compete for an immortal position. Zhang Buku looked at Su Yu and said earnestly. In his heart, though, he was thinking of two other people. If he could ascend to immortality, he should be able to find Master Gu and Liya. What expressions would they wear when faced with the immortal him? With this thought, his fighting spirit was ignited instantly, and his eyes blazed like torches. Su Yu, seeing him all of a sudden excited, sighed inwardly, truly an enigmatic fellow. At the end of the year, Guan stood on a cliff, braving the heavy snow, watching as the figures of the celestial spirit god and Tianhao disappeared into the world gate. Guan could see that their journey was going smoothly, but the cause and effect beyond the misty immortal court became unpredictable, indicating that there lay mighty beings in the misty immortal court not to be underestimated. This was good. He needed the misty immortal court to be strong enough now. Moreover, Guan felt that even if Tianhao was targeted, he would not die. Neither Profound Residence Immortal Monarch nor Tai Immortal Monarch seemed like they would send assassins for Tianhao, but rather seemed more likely to capture him. Just like the 72 immortals of Jin Dong, upon discovering Tianhao, they did not annihilate him with thunderous might, they even had the leisure to speak. Howard, what exactly is your origin? Gu An's gaze turned profound, his thoughts stretched even further. Who sent and how to Ziwei Immortal Palace? Why did they send and how away to escape the control of the Celestial Court? Even though he had reached Miaozhen Daluo Immortal Realm perfection in cultivation level, there were still things beyond his comprehension. He wasn't troubled by this, for he had means to resolve his current perplexities. That is to break through. As long as he was strong enough, he would be able to see through the fog that lay before him. Guan looked for a while, then turned and walked down the mountain. The heavy snow soon covered his figure, and the footprints he left behind quickly disappeared, without leaving a trace. Time is like this snow, erasing all marks in the world. Given enough time, even the strongest and most magnificent things will fade away. 10 years later. An Xian followed Guan on the mountain ridge, the setting sun stretched their shadows long. Master, don't deceive me, we are still on the Nine-Spirit continent, how could we reach the place Tianhao wants to go? You wouldn't use this as a metaphor, to teach me some life lessons, would you? An Xian couldn't help questioning, her face filled with suspicion. If that was truly the case, then she would have to forget it. Since he is the master, she could only endure. Guan laughed and said, "What's the hurry? Use your immortal emperor's eye to sense it." Upon hearing this, an Xian immediately activated her immortal emperor's eye, and her pupils turned purple. Her view of the world changed. She found that their surroundings were not the forests of the Nine-Spirit continent, but a mysterious cosmic void. A gray airflow came from ahead, and upon careful sensing, she realized that it was the breath of the Great Tao. She was greatly shocked and began to seriously sense the Great Tao essences along the way. What was going on? Was this an illusion divine power? Or had she actually arrived in another place? An Xian, filled with curiosity, watched Gu An's figure ahead. Guan continued to walk leisurely as if stepping over rough mountain terrain, his strides not that of walking on flat ground. Moreover, an Xian felt a strong sense of kinship emanating from Guan. Without guessing, she knew it was the perception granted by Gu An's immortal emperor's eye. The master who imparted her with the immortal emperor's eye, surely he himself had mastered such peerless divine skills. She secretly compared and found that her immortal emperor's eye was far inferior to her master's. This gap was greater than any description in the world. She felt that if she faced her master's immortal emperor's eye, she might not even have the courage to resist. It was an immensely vast aura that made her feel incredibly insignificant. I have many disciples, and they have each received different parts of my inheritance, but the immortal emperor's eye, I have only passed it on to you alone. It is not only because this divine skill is difficult to cultivate, but also because I see the most potential in you. In fact, I think you are my most outstanding disciple, and you will surprise everyone. Gu An's voice came from ahead, casual in tone, but the content of his words filled an Xian with joy and surprise. Although she had followed Guan for 88,000 years, it was the first time she had heard her master speak so highly of her. Whether it was Hao, Ong Jian, the current celestial demon child, blood prison great saint, Lv Xian, or Chen Chuan, so many geniuses have appeared under the master's guidance, she never dared to imagine that she would be the favorite disciple of her master. An unprecedented surprise and touch filled her heart, converging into a mysterious force that caused changes in her immortal emperor's eye. Purplish auras escaped from her immortal emperor's eye's purple pupils, entwining around her eye sockets and branding into unusual purple Dao patterns. Although Guan, walking ahead, did not look back, the corners of his mouth were slightly upturned. Anzin's immortal emperor's eye had transformed. The reason for the transformation was not just because of Gu An's words, which were just a catalyst, the main influence was the surrounding Dao intent. At this moment, they were walking on the path of the Great Dao, surrounded by the intent of the Great Dao. The path of the Great Dao is boundless and beyond ordinary natural forms. He used the Daoist celestial net step to walk on the edge of the Great Dao path, where no one could detect their presence. Sarch * the Novelier. N.E.T. website on Google to access chapters of novels early and in the highest quality. But this path was very dangerous, and the slightest carelessness could lead to complete annihilation. An Xian was unaware of the fortune she was in, she could feel changes within herself, which made her even more grateful to her master. Time seemed to stand still as an Xian gradually entered a state of self-forgetting. Her immortal emperor's eye allowed her to see many impactful images. In absolute darkness, a big explosion occurred, giving birth to the universe, with countless shards of rock flying and becoming pieces of worlds, which then gave birth to all living things. She saw the origin and destruction of life, the collision of Tao creating the rules of heaven and earth, and she even saw terrifying figures standing with their backs to all living beings at the site of the explosion. So many images overwhelmed her sight, and during this process, she absorbed some power. This power came from the Great Tao. To absorb the power of the Great Tao from something akin to an illusion was beyond Anzin's own comprehension. She realized that she still didn't understand the immortal emperor's eye completely. Perhaps the reason her master said she was his most outstanding disciple was mainly because she had cultivated the immortal emperor's eye. Master once said that the immortal emperor's eye holds different divine skills for different individuals, and they are very profound. Perhaps my immortal emperor's eye is more than just about absorbing power for my own use, an Xian thought to herself as she continued to immerse in the current fortune. She didn't know how much time had passed, it could have been a day or two, or maybe thousands of years. Suddenly, an Xian suddenly woke up, stumbled, nearly bumping into Guan, but fortunately, Guan steadied her with his index finger on her forehead. "We have arrived," Guan said with a smile to an Xian, who came back to her senses and looked around subconsciously. They were standing amidst a brilliant starry sky, countless stars and varying massive nebulae visible in every direction, all so beautiful it seemed unreal. An Xian was still immersed in the fortune of her immortal emperor's eye and felt a sense of loss. She asked subconsciously, "Where is this place?" Guan looked in a certain direction and said, "Misty Immortal Court, where your senior brother will practice in the future, and perhaps he will ascend to immortality there." Upon hearing this, an Xian fully awakened, her curiosity prompted her to ask, "Could it be that immortal gods reside here?" Guan replied, "Not exactly, but immortal gods have been born here." As soon as he finished speaking, a rainbow light streaked across the depths of the starry space ahead. It was a cultivator who looked like an immortal, with an extraordinary demeanor, surrounded by several treasures, moving at an extremely fast speed. He suddenly stopped, not far from Guan, and an Xian stood still, his eyes widened, his body trembling slightly. This scene left an Xian puzzled, and just as she was about to ask, her eyes suddenly widened. Suddenly, a figure burning with black flames appeared out of nowhere behind the cultivator, as tall as 100 feet, like a mountain behind him. The figure with the black flames was raising its right hand, with the index finger touching the cultivator's head. If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know to report so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 633, The Great Tao is boundless. Looking at that black flame figure, an Xian was scared and dared not to speak, for fear of startling the other party. The figure appeared out of nowhere, an Xian was completely unaware, now just looking at him, she felt chilled to the bone. Even with the advancement of her immortal emperor's eye, she felt terrified when looking at this figure. This was an instinctive reaction to mortal danger, telling her at first glance that she was definitely no match for the other party. But soon, an Xian realized that the person seemed not to see them. She couldn't help but turn her head to look at her master, noticing his calm face, quietly watching the black flame figure and the cultivator. Even that cultivator being suppressed by the black flame figure seemed unfathomably profound to an Xian. Master, what is the cultivation level of the cultivator being pursued? Curiously, an Xian asked. Guan replied, heaven-encompassing free immortal, ranking above profound yuan free immortal. Heaven-encompassing? An Xian was startled. She knew that above free immortal was the Tao fruit realm, and also knew that the profound yuan free immortal was the publicly recognized strongest realm in the celestial spirit great world. Even the master of the Tao court was of this realm. The existence stronger than the master of the Tao court was actually suppressed by an unknown being, leaving no room to display the might of a heaven-encompassing free immortal. An Xian asked further, what realm is the being behind him? Guan answered, innate golden immortal realm, ranking above heaven-encompassing free immortal, the first realm of the golden immortal Tao fruit. Innate golden immortal. And Xin's horizons were greatly broadened. The higher the cultivation, the less likely it is to overcome a higher realm. If you encounter a being of a much higher realm in the future, it is best to detour, do not try to be brave, Guan earnestly advised. Encountering such a battle was no coincidence. Guan had foreseen the nearby battle to the misty immortal court and specifically brought an Xian to see, letting her understand the terrifying world beyond the Great Thousand World. The universe where the misty immortal court is located is not the Great Thousand World, it's more vast than the Great Thousand World, and the Tao rules here are even more intense. After calculations, Guan knew that such a universe was called the Tao universe, higher than the Great Thousand World. Don't worry, Master, I won't venture out alone. I want to keep cultivating by your side, an Xian said with a smile. She didn't find cultivating by Guan's side dull at all, she relished the feeling of becoming constantly stronger. Moreover, she could watch the ebb and flow of the human world. If she wished to go out and play, the Jianghu sect was a good place. Within the Jianghu sect, she could feel the changes in the world, new and interesting things entered her view every year. Just then, the black flame figure stretched out a hand and, with the touch on the heaven-encompassing free immortal's head, this heaven-encompassing free immortal was obliterated, ceasing to exist. This made an Xian deeply moved. No matter how high one's cultivation is, would there always be a being they cannot overcome? She couldn't help but wonder, this black flame figure is an innate golden immortal, yet couldn't see her and her master. How high is her master's realm? It must be higher than the innate golden immortal realm. The corners of Guan's mouth slightly curved upwards. Above the innate golden immortal are the heaven-balancing golden immortal and then the Taiqing golden immortal. Going further up are the heaven-opening Daoist immortal, Miaozhen Daoist immortal. The gap between him and the black flame figure was far beyond An Xin's imagination and cognition, but he would not reveal his true cultivation level. After exterminating the heaven-encompassing free immortal, the black flame figure vanished into thin air. In the Tao universe, beings of any realm must be cautious, Guan remarked with a sigh. An Xian admired Guan even more. With her master's cultivation, he should be able to easily obliterate the black flame figure, but the master never bullied the weak. Compared to those who acted recklessly and without restraint, she admired someone like her master who could control his own desires even more. Although master loves to read some frivolous books, in Nzin's eyes, master is the person who most fits the image of an immortal. He knows the secular world, yet he is not of it, truly an immortal, yet without the arrogance of one. She will always remember the words her master told her. True strength is not being invincible, but having the capacity to accept those who are weaker than oneself. Guan continued to move forward, and an Xian quickly followed. Along the way, an Xian observed the Dao universe. Every star and every nebula seemed to contain some Dao intent, allowing her immortal emperor's eye to continuously gain insights. She was walking slowly, but the scenery around her moved quickly. She knew this was master's doing. About an hour passed. Guan stopped walking. An Xian came to his side, and looked ahead. Her beautiful eyes widened, filled with wonder. In front of them was a piece of starry sky emitting dazzling light, with majestic immortal mansions suspended, standing above the nebulas like numerous stars, layered upon each other, presenting a vision that shook the soul with its representation of the great Tao. Looking at the grandeur of the misty immortal court, Nzin's immortal emperor's eye slightly contracted, as if to deeply imprint this scene in her memory. Will senior brother be cultivating in such a holy land? An Xian murmured softly to herself. A look of anticipation appeared on her face, hoping Tianhao would show his peerless elegance in such a place. Guan spoke, "The great thousand world is countless, as is the Dao universe. Even as your master, I am not clear on where the end of the Dao lies, nor how many Dao universes there are. Pursuing the Dao is the most wonderful world, and in the process of pursuit lies longevity." Sar the Nelfer. Net website on Google to access chapters of novels early and in the highest quality. My child, your immortal emperor's eye should not only devour power, but also look at the Tao. The more scenery you see, the higher your Tao practice will be. Wuxia translates to without beginning, just like the infinite great Tao. Listening to Gu An's words, Nzin's mindset also began to shift. Pursuing the great Tao? Is this why master faces all calamities with a serene smile, and confronts all tribulations with lightness? An Xian also wanted to possess such a mindset, so she watched very intently. Yet, standing beside master and looking at the same scenery, she still could not imagine what everything looked like through master's eyes. "Master, has Tianhao already gone in?" An Xian asked. Guan replied, He is currently engaging in combat with someone. This will be his first battle in the misty immortal court, and he will get through it smoothly." An Xian smiled. Hearing master's words, she was completely reassured. If master said it would go smoothly, then it certainly would. The master and disciple stood in the starry sky, gazing at the misty immortal court. An Xian was immersed in the grandeur of the misty immortal court, while Guan felt the destiny of the misty immortal court. The misty immortal court must be hiding a heaven-opening Daluo immortal, but not a Miaozhen Daluo immortal. However, this does not exclude the possibility of a factor relating to the Miaozhen Daluo immortal in the misty immortal court. Guan inexplicably thought of the Emperor of Eternal Lives Master, Celestial Buddha. Where is Ling Mountain? He suddenly thought to check on Ling Mountain. He began to deduce the fates and cause-effect of the misty immortal court. The misty immortal court is closely related to Ling Mountain, and if he deduced, he would surely find traces. Indeed, he found them. Ling Mountain is in another Dao universe. Compared to the memory of the Emperor of Eternal Life, Ling Mountain is even more vast in Gu An's eyes. Under Ling Mountain, several Dao universes are suppressed, and inside Ling Mountain, there are many great worlds, all hidden within the bodies of powerful Buddhist cultivators or certain treasures. The Bodhi sacred tree where the Emperor of Eternal Life once resided conceals thousands of worlds. Although these worlds are not considered great worlds, they too nurture cultivation civilizations. If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know to report so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 634, 10,000 years per page. Guan brought an Xian to the misty immortal court, indeed only to broaden her experiences. After Tianhao departed, he needed to cultivate another absolute talent for Wuxia, not for any special reason, but because he wished to do so. While an Xian was experiencing the misty immortal court, Guan was feeling the Ling Mountain. Following the endless cause and effect of Ling Mountain, he discovered a vaster heaven and earth, different planes, and he even glimpsed the River of Destiny. Upon seeing the River of Destiny, Guan couldn't help but think of a son from one of his past lives. Lu Qiuxian. The son of Lu Han, born as a primordial cause and effect body. On the verge of death, Lu Han asked Lu Qiuxian to revive himself, but somehow, Lu Qiuxian became bound to the River of Destiny, unable to escape from it, yet also thus gaining eternal lifespan. Throughout the long years, Guan occasionally observed Lu Qiuxian, who, after merging with the River of Destiny, seemed like its guardian. His cultivation level was far inferior to Guan's current one, but with the River of Destiny, no one could completely annihilate him. Lu Qiuxian kept searching for his parents within the River of Destiny. Guan saw this but was powerless to help. Guan's exploration into the path of destiny was profound. He could feel Lu Qiuxian's obsession. If he could meet his father, the obsession would dissipate, and Lu Qiuxian would perish, not entering reincarnation. Thus, Guan wanted to wait until he was powerful enough to save Lu Qiuxian before intervening. The lifespan reincarnation allowed Guan to enhance his understanding of the Great Tao and even his life experiences, but it also left many regrets. Lu Qiuxian searched for Lu Han. The Black Profound Emperor sought desperately for Fairy Bai Xian. The Emperor of Eternal Life wanted to save Fairy Yao Xian. Other reincarnated beings also had their own regrets. Though Guan had few emotional regrets, it was only before death that he felt regret for not reaching a higher realm. Guan's gaze quickly found Lu Qiuxian. Lu Qiuxian was meditating within the River of Destiny. He wasn't cultivating, but endless searching within destiny for traces of his parents. His cultivation level would strengthen over time, and by aura, it was already comparable to the heaven-encompassing free immortal realm. Guan suddenly wanted to know what Lu Qiuxian's state of mind was like over the long years. His pupils suddenly changed, transforming into the immortal emperor's eye. The meditating Lu Qiuxian opened his eyes, frowning as he looked all around. Guan ceased his probing, feeling somewhat surprised inside. The heaven-encompassing free immortal can sense the surveillance of this Miaozhen Daluo immortal? He felt relieved. Lu Qiuxian indeed had an extraordinary demeanor. If he were still alive today, his cultivation level would certainly be even higher than it is now. Just as Guan was about to withdraw his gaze, his brow suddenly furrowed. Among the countless causes and effects surrounding Lu Qiuxian, he saw a figure approaching Lu Qiuxian. This figure was very blurry, carrying an overwhelming murderous intent. Guan couldn't see through this figure, only that it was approaching Lu Qiuxian, and even could not calculate when it would reach behind Lu Qiuxian. This was not an approach in the conventional sense, but a closeness on a causal level. The figure was moving through some sort of causal method to attack Lu Qiuxian. Guan couldn't warn Lu Qiuxian, and it would have been useless anyway. With the River of Destiny, Lu Qiuxian couldn't resist the other's approach. Knowing beforehand was just adding to his worries. After a long while, an Xian retracted her gaze, turned her head to look at Guan, and saw her master frowning. Following her master's gaze, she could see nothing. This made her nervous. What matter or what kind of existence could make her master frown? In her eyes, there was nothing that could confound her master. Even a deceased person, her master could retrieve them from reincarnation. Guan's brow smoothed out. He turned his head to look at an Xian, and smiled, asking, "Ready to go back?" An Xian nodded, saying, "It's time to go back. I now just want to cultivate properly. Even though I haven't been out for long, I seem to have more thoughts about the immortal emperor's eye." Guan looked at her eyes still imprinted with purple Dao patterns and nodded slightly, then turned around and walked back the way he had come. An Xian followed behind Guan, closing her eyes as she walked. With each step, she left behind a shadow, identical to herself, as if it was a duplicate. 10 steps left 10 shadows. 100 steps left 100 shadows. Although Guan did not look back, he was aware of the situation behind him. He had already sensed that in Xin's immortal emperor's eye was not so simple, absorbing external forces and transforming them into her own in a short time seemed powerful, but compared to his immortal emperor's eye divine power, it was far inferior. His immortal emperor's eye could twist reality and fiction, reshaping the past and erasing the future. And Xin's immortal emperor's eye also penetrates the past and future, but it is different from Guan's reality twisting. As they continued forward, the shadows and Xin left behind began to change, their clothing altered, and their aura shifted, reminiscent of her from different periods. An Xin slowly opened her eyes, her instincts telling her to look back. Do not look back, maintain your current sensation. The voice of Guan came from ahead, steadying in Xin's head. She watched her master's back, and her mind cleared of distractions. They were still walking on the boundless edge of the path of the Great Tao, without encountering any obstacles. An Xin felt as though she had been dreaming, waking up back inside the Daoist field of the beginningless. She turned her head and saw Lv Xian and Chen Chuan standing in front of her master, debating something, while the master had picked up a book again. She didn't feel that what happened before was a dream. She smiled meaningfully and then turned to leave, preparing to go back to her room for secluded cultivation. Shen Zhen, who was sitting in front of the artifact refining cauldron, looked at the departing figure of an Xin, frowning slightly. Previously, she could see in Xin's karma and, through it, envision in Xin's past or future scenes, but now, she could no longer do so. Returning from a trip with such great progress? Shen Zhen wondered curiously, her gaze then following towards Guan, her eyes filled with anticipation. Guan, hearing Lv Xian and Chen Chuan arguing, was indifferent and did not look at an Xin but was immersed in his book. When a page flipped, it represented an era in the human world. Sir the Novel Fire. Net website on Google to access chapters of novels early and in the highest quality. After 10,000 years. Guan closed the book, stood up, stretched his body, bathed in the sunlight. His posture was so relaxed. The small wooden plaques at his waist jingled slightly, unbeknownst to anyone that they were transformed by immortals. Celestial Cyan and Tian Bai came rushing from outside the courtyard, and upon reaching Guan, they chattered non-stop about the legends they had heard. 10,000 years had passed, and many prominent figures and extraordinary talents had emerged in the human world. After the disappearance of Tian Hao, another unparalleled prodigy from the Dao court has emerged, rivaling the legends. The two compared the achievements of this eternal prodigy with those of Tian Hao, debating whose talent was stronger. Guan had already noticed this eternal prodigy, who indeed could match Tian Hao, for this person was a reincarnation of an immortal god. Yes, an immortal from the celestial court. It was a maneuver by Tai immortal monarch. This immortal monarch is approaching, ready to descend personally into the celestial spirit great world, for the 72 immortals of the Golden Cave. As Guan limbered up, he looked down contemplatively. Where should Tai immortal monarch be placed? If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know to report so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 635 Guan vs Immortal Monarch. Master, do you think the Emperor Tian Hong of the Dao Court can match Tian Hao? Celestial Cyan turned her head to look at Guan, asking seriously. She couldn't argue with Tian Bai, who always believed that no one could surpass Tian Hao. However, the cultivation speed of Emperor Tian Hong was not inferior to Tian Hao, and his battle achievements were even more fierce, often winning across realms and even having records of one against many cross-realm victories, which were both ancient and brilliant. Coupled with the momentum built by Dao Court, the people have already forgotten Tian Hao and only sing praises to Emperor Tian Hong. From the comparison of battle achievements, Celestial Cyan felt that Emperor Tian Hong truly wasn't weaker than Tian Hao. Tian Bai merely looked down on the talents from the outside out of reflex. Guan replied, within the celestial spirit great world, no one's talent can match that of Tian Hao, and he has even stronger destiny pattern yet to be unleashed. This statement made Tianbai puff out her chest involuntarily. Guan continued, but once they leave the celestial spirit great world, there's indeed little difference between the two, and they are bound to leave the celestial spirit great world to venture into higher realms. Upon hearing this, Celestial Cyan immediately smiled and stared defiantly at Tianbai. Instead of worrying about these, it would be better to think about your own cultivation. Your innate qualities are indeed mediocre, but having cultivated by my side for so many years, you actually have the qualifications to compete with any genius in the world, said Guan, shaking his head, causing the two women to reveal embarrassed smiles. Their nature was lively, making it difficult for them to concentrate on cultivation for long periods. What Guan said was no false praise. Even the reincarnated immortal god, Emperor Tianhong, did not have the Miaozhen Daluo immortal constantly releasing Dao intent in his previous life. Tianbai, clinging to Gu An's arm, cooed, with so many dojo disciples, there will always be someone who ranks first, we just need to not fall behind. Exactly. Recently, Blood Prison Great Saint's progress has been very fast. He is now unanimously recognized as the #1 disciple of Wuxia. I feel that Emperor Tianhong is no match for him, said Celestial Cyan, hugging Gu An's other arm with a look of agreement, standing with Tianbai against Gu An's stern criticism. Guan said earnestly, actually, in my eyes, you are not inferior to the Blood Prison Great Saint. In some respects, I even think you are the most formidable because you have each other. Just like the Dao treasures I crafted for you, they are meant to complement each other. This statement made Celestial Cyan's and Tianbei's eyes light up, and they began asking in which aspects they were considered stronger. All of a sudden, Guan felt a bit of a headache. He was simply customarily praising them, encouraging them to cultivate actively. They could be excited, but did they have to rub against him in their excitement? After frolicking with them for a while, Guan finally sent them back to their own cultivations. Afterward, an Xian, having received his message, appeared out of thin air in front of him and curiously asked, Master, what's the matter? Since her visit to the misty immortal court 10,000 years ago, an Xian had put aside all matters, allowing Celestial Cyan and Tianbai to coordinate with Jianghu's sect while she remained in closed-door cultivation, studying the immortal emperor's eye. This allowed the Blood Prison Great Saint to become the undisputed strongest disciple in the dojo within 10,000 years. Should an Xian and the Blood Prison Great Saint go to battle now, the Blood Prison Great Saint would suffer a miserable defeat, according to Gu An's deduction. With the immortal emperor's eye divine power, an Xian was more than just a little stronger than the Blood Prison Great Saint. Within the same realm, Guan even felt that Nzin's suppressive power could surpass that of Tian Hao. After her visit to the misty immortal court, Nzin's immortal emperor's eye fully awakened, making her divine power extremely suitable for battle. It had been 10,000 years since Guan and an Xian had seen each other, but for an Xian, she did not feel the influence of time on herself. At least her attitude towards Guan had not changed at all. I am about to engage in a battle, would you like to watch? Guan asked with a smile. Upon hearing this, Nzin's eyes lit up and she nodded immediately. Just as an Xian was about to ask more questions, the scenery around them suddenly changed, and they appeared beneath the world gate in an instant. Although this was not the first time an Xian felt Gu An's divine powers, she was still startled. In these 10,000 years, she could feel her own progress, which greatly boosted her self-confidence, but facing her master, she still felt like a frog in a well. An Xian did not dwell on this emotion. She turned to look, her gaze landing on the towering world gate. What is this? An Xian asked curiously, sensing the boundless power of the great Tao contained within the gate, something she had never seen before. Indeed, following her master out always broadened her horizons. Guan did not keep it a secret, starting to introduce the world gate to her. Learning that this was the heavenly Tao gate leading outside the great thousand world and that beings could only leave the celestial spirit great world through this gate made an Xian more curious. Her master didn't use the world gate to go to the misty immortal court before. Guan then shared the news of the impending arrival of Tai immortal monarch with her. Having already conversed with her about Tianhao's karma, she was aware of the immortal monarch's background. Tai immortal monarch was no ordinary immortal god but an existence higher than celestial gods and star monarchs. The fact that her master was about to battle such a being filled her with anticipation. Will Tai immortal monarch come out from within the world gate? An Xian asked, her gaze fixed on the world gate. The inactive world gate appeared dark and mysterious, its inner space translucent, showing the cosmic scenery behind it, vast and majestic. Guan reached for the wooden token at his waist, playing with it gently, and said, "Yes, soon you'll be able to witness the immortal's grandeur." Meanwhile, in a mysterious dark space, the 72 immortals of Golden Cave appeared one after another. They opened their eyes to find themselves unable to take a single step, only able to turn their heads and twist their bodies. They soon all faced one direction, and looking along it, they saw a vast light screen floating in the darkness ahead, allowing them to see the scene of Guan and an Xian by the world gate. Source: Web Novel. Com, updated on Novlove. Com Sur the Ovalfire. Net website on Google to access chapters of novels early and in the highest quality. If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know to report so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 635 Guan vs Immortal Monarch _2 What is this place? It seems we've been sealed by that guy, and he apparently wants us to witness something. Listen carefully to their conversation. Is an immortal monarch coming? This fellow is outrageously arrogant. He is indeed powerful, but how dare he challenge an immortal monarch? Big brother, what should we do? We can't just sit here and wait for death. The 72 immortals of Jianghu were agitated, cursing Guan, and eventually, they turned their gaze towards the purple dragon star monarch. CTH Novlier. N.E.T. website on Google to access chapters of novels early and in the highest quality. The purple dragon star monarch's face was expressionless. Earlier, when they were sealed into wooden tokens, they all fell into a coma, so they felt as if they had just been captured. But the purple dragon star monarch keenly sensed that a considerable amount of time might have already passed in the celestial spirit great world. If that was the case, what had Guan done to them during this time? Thinking about the methods Guan used to capture them made it hard for the purple dragon star monarch to speak and soothe everyone. He felt that Guan might indeed possess the power to contend with an immortal monarch. He was the only Taiqing Golden Immortal, as well as one who attained Taiqing Golden Immortal realm perfection in cultivation level, and his vision was more penetrating. In his eyes, Guan was definitely an existence of the Daoist realm. Such an existence, not belonging to the celestial court, truly made him uneasy. But there was nothing the purple dragon star monarch could do now, except to wait quietly. In reality, Guan continued talking with an Xian. He deliberately let the will of the 72 immortals of Jianghu fall into his own Dao fruit universe, allowing them to peek at the battle. The reason for doing this was that Guan had no intention of allowing the 72 immortals of Jianghu to leave. Immortal gods might be unkillable, but they could be sealed, and even if they would eventually be discovered by the celestial court, it would at least buy Guan some time. For the celestial court, tens of millions of years might just be a fleeting moment. From the celestial court's lack of urgency in ordering the celestial spirit god to quickly obliterate the celestial spirit great world, it was evident that their perception of time far exceeded that of mortals. Any immortal god who comes seeking trouble, he plans to seal away. If he released them directly, that would surely bring great trouble. Time passed by second. It wasn't until the world gate trembled that Guan and an Xian stopped talking. An Xian turned to face the world gate, which burst forth with intense light, converging inside. This was the light of the heavenly Tao, which enveloped the surface of the celestial spirit great world. Feeling the strong light of the heavenly Tao up close, an Xian could sense the might and unfathomable depth of the celestial court. What kind of formidable power could have created such a force of order? As the world gate was fully activated, a vast and infinite aura poured out from within, forming a majestic celestial mist that spread out, striking awe into all who witnessed it. Within the Dao fruit universe, the 72 immortals of Jianghu became excited. The immortal monarch has come, he is here to save us, a female immortal said excitedly, her face filled with admiration. The other immortals of Jianghu were also surprised and delighted. Despite having heard from Guan and an Xian that the Tai immortal monarch would come, seeing the aura of the Tai immortal monarch actually appear stirred them deeply, even inciting a sense of sacrificial devotion to the end. On the other side, a figure gradually emerged from the intense light beneath the world gate, appearing as though he had walked from the end of the ages, or as if he had come from the very origin of everything, with an indescribable sacred aura assaulting Anzin's eyes. Anzin's eyes instantly turned into the immortal emperor's eye, with purple Dao patterns appearing around her eye sockets, and her pupils reflecting the figure of Tai immortal monarch. During the wait, an Xian had been imagining what Tai immortal monarch would look like, but when she actually saw him, she couldn't help feeling an abject sense of inferiority. This was an essential difference in the nature of life. Whether it was cultivation level, soul, or cognition, an Xian instinctively felt inferior to the other. Heaven-defying one, you dare await my arrival here. Do you know what you are about to face? The voice of Tai immortal monarch emanated from within the world gate, echoing across the cosmic starry sky. In an instant, with the world gate at the center, the space in all directions burst into multicolored rainbow light, rendering this piece of the universe bizarre and fantastical, mesmerizing and mysterious. Listening to Tai immortal monarch's words, an Xian almost felt an impulse to kneel and bow her head. Her mind was shaken, unable to fathom just how profound Tai immortal monarch's Dao practice was. Guan stepped forward and Anzin's intense discomfort suddenly vanished. She looked towards Guan subconsciously. In her eyes, Guan's image abruptly grew in stature, and he could even be compared to Tai immortal monarch, who was still within the world gate. Within the Dao fruit universe, the 72 immortals of Jianghu also fixed their gaze upon Guan's figure. In their view, the silhouette of Tai immortal monarch, who was approaching them, seemed almost to overlap with Guan's figure. Despite their hatred for Guan, from this angle, they had to concede that Guan's presence was every bit as formidable as that of Tai immortal monarch. Fooling all living beings, isn't that also a violation of heavenly Dao? Guan's voice sounded, his tone calm. Tai immortal monarch continued to approach the gate, walking neither quickly nor slowly, but with each step, he displayed an unstoppable dominance. Finally, standing at the edge of the world gate, he remained bathed in the brilliant light of the heavenly Dao. Even an Xian could feel that with just one more step, he could reveal his true form. An Xian saw what seemed to be a scroll floating behind Tai immortal monarch. It surged like a river, and on his forehead was a golden pattern. In the absence of distinctive facial features, this golden pattern seemed like a vertical eye, making him appear even more divine, majestic, and inviolable. You dare to talk about heavenly Dao? What are you plotting against the Son of Heaven? The voice of Tai immortal monarch rang out once more, this time even more authoritative, thunderous, and deafening. Guan retorted, I do not know who the Son of Heaven is, nor what he represents. All I know is that you wish to capture my disciple. As for the current situation, as an immortal monarch, how do you think it should be resolved? Tai immortal monarch fell silent, seemingly not having expected Guan to be unaware of Tianhao's origins. But that no longer mattered, as Guan had interfered with his grand plans and also captured his subordinates. Release the 72 immortals of Jianghu and hand over the Son of Heaven. Let us consider this matter settled, and you may continue to hide and cultivate in this world. It will be as if I never encountered you. Tai immortal monarch spoke, equally convinced that Guan was a heaven-opening Daoist immortal hiding in the celestial spirit great world, evidently burdened with consequences unimaginable to all living beings. Guan must not dare to face the celestial court. Separated by the strong light of the heavenly Tao, Guan was unable to use lifespan detection on Tai Immortal Monarch, but he could sense that Tai Immortal Monarch was merely of heaven-opening Daoist immortal cultivation level. Such a cultivation level was nothing to fear. You can only choose one, either the whereabouts of the Son of Heaven in your words, or the freedom of the 72 immortals of Jin Dong. I need one of them to restrain you, to avoid any retaliation from you, Guan stated placidly. Tai Immortal Monarch did not sense the aura of the 72 immortals of Jin Dong but saw the wooden plaques on Guan's waist. No matter how he looked, those plaques appeared to be ordinary, made of common wood, without any mysteries. However, Guan's query was met with his disdain. A crude attempt at causing dissension. Do you really think you can trap the 72 immortals of Jin Dong? Since you insist on setting conditions, then feel the power of the immortal gods. Tai Immortal Monarch huffed coldly and took a step forward. White hair fluttered out from the strong light of the heavenly Tao, followed by the true body of Tai Immortal Monarch. The silver immortal ribbon concealed his eyes, and his pure white Tao robe flowed like feathers. The scroll hovering behind him was unfurling, revealing a vast expanse of heaven and earth. An aura far surpassing that of Tai Ching golden immortals erupted completely, solidifying the Tao rules of the entire celestial spirit great world. At that moment, time stood still, and everything ceased to move, save for the disciples in the Daoist field of the beginningless, who remained unaffected. However, they did not perceive the situation outside the Tao field. An Xian, standing behind Guan, felt it more profoundly. Faced with the might of Tai Immortal Monarch, she couldn't help but worry for her teacher. She felt that even the misty immortal court, when faced with such a terrifying presence, would likely be destroyed. Standing before the world gate, Tai Immortal Monarch slightly lifted his chin. Even with his eyes covered, his lofty demeanor was unmistakable. Regardless, an Xian thought the pride of the immortal gods was extreme, but she also felt it to be fitting, influenced by the Tao intent of Tai Immortal Monarch. It seems you are not as composed and self-assured as you appear. Have you ever pondered upon the sight of yourself kneeling before a mortal spirit? The voice of Guan rose, so very cold. Source, web novel. Com, updated on Novlove. Com. If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know to report so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 636 Celestial Emperor Bloodline Guan's words were like the coldest sword in the world, piercing through the atmosphere of despair created by Tai Immortal Monarch, instantly dissipating the impact on an Xian. In the Tao Fruit universe, the 72 immortals of Golden Cave felt Guan was even more audacious than Tai Immortal Monarch, and this arrogance left them unable to verbalize their curses. For some unknown reason, when Guan's words fell, the 72 immortals of Jin Dong all harbored the absurd thought that Tai Immortal Monarch was going to be defeated. Standing before Guan, even Tai Immortal Monarch seemed suppressed, and despite his eyes being covered by his silver celestial threads, astonishment still colored his face. Kneel before a mortal spirit? Tai Immortal Monarch asked coldly, as golden Tao patterns on his forehead burst into fierce flames, as if the anger in his heart was instantly ignited, burning fiercely. Boom, S.E.A. The novel, F. Ire. Et website on Google to access chapters of novels early and in the highest quality. The entire universe shattered in an instant. The fragments of space appeared like broken glass, piercing into Nzin's field of vision, her immortal emperor's eyes widening, with her purple pupils trembling. She could feel the surrounding Tao rules receding rapidly like startled birds, as an endless sea of stars distanced themselves amidst the space debris. Then, everything abruptly came to a halt. An Xian instinctively turned her head, and wherever she looked, her gaze met suspended fragments of space, layered upon one another, dazzling and alarming her simultaneously. The celestial spirit great world was destroyed. The breath of all living beings vanished. And it happened in an instant. Her gaze shifted to Tai Immortal Monarch in front of her. The world gate remained, while the overwhelmingly powerful Tai Immortal Monarch displayed the posture of an immortal god unquestionably. Merely by his aura, he could shatter the great thousand world. Anzin's mind went blank, as she could only stare dumbfounded at Tai Immortal Monarch. The shattered universe fell into silence, and the strong light of the heavenly Tao within the world gate also disappeared, appearing cautious and gloomy. Just then, she saw a pair of purple eyes emerging from the world gate behind Tai Immortal Monarch. That is, Anzin's eyes widened. She recognized in a glance that those were the Immortal Emperor's eyes. Her master's Immortal Emperor's eyes. Standing behind Guan, she couldn't see his face, and with her divine sense suppressed by Tai Immortal Monarch's aura, she was intensely curious about her master's demeanor exhibiting the Immortal Emperor's eyes. What she was curious about was the very thing Tai Immortal Monarch feared. Tai Immortal Monarch stared at the purple light in Guan's eyes, gritting his teeth. Immortal Emperor's eyes. No wonder you have the confidence to contend with the celestial court. He stood still, not because he was stunned, but because he was suppressed by Guan's Immortal Emperor's eyes. The capability of Guan's Immortal Emperor's eyes was not just about reversing the past and altering truth, it also possessed tremendous power. Furthermore, with a higher realm than Tai Immortal Monarch, suppressing him was as easy as flipping his hand. The reason he allowed Tai Immortal Monarch to show his might was to let an Xian truly feel the strength of immortal gods as well as her own weakness. Since guiding an Xian to cultivate the Immortal Emperor's eyes, Guan truly intended to train her to be his strongest disciple. No matter how formidable Tian Hao and An Hao were, they still basked in the glory of the celestial court. Although Anzin's comprehension grew stronger, she lacked a special destiny pattern and the way of cause and effect. Guan could already see Tian Hao's destiny pattern, so he was sure that the unremarkable An Xian indeed had no great background. Guan looked down indifferently at Tai Immortal Monarch, who had destroyed the celestial spirit great world with a single move, clearly because he feared he couldn't take down Guan and wanted to cause a stir to attract the attention of the celestial court. How could such behavior, treating the lives of countless beings as nothing, not be deemed extremely evil? Unfortunately for Tai Immortal Monarch, he miscalculated. Guan had not been merely engaging in idle talk with Tai Immortal Monarch previously, but instead, was enveloping the entire celestial spirit great world with his power of the way of cause and effect, isolating it from the outside world. He dared to do so because he was certain that this Tai Immortal Monarch was not an avatar, which is precisely the strength of the way of cause and effect. For an avatar, the main body is the cause. Guan did not answer Tai Immortal Monarch. In the shattered void all around, his Immortal Emperor's eye kept appearing, varying in sizes, densely packed, and filled with a sense of oppression. An Xian looked up and couldn't count the number of Immortal Emperor's eyes. At this moment, she felt that her own Immortal Emperor's eye was weak, uncertain if she could ever reach her master's realm in this life. Inside the Tao Fruit universe, the 72 immortals of the Golden Cave had not seen the Immortal Emperor's eye. In their field of vision, the universe only appeared shattered, while their Lord Tai Immortal Monarch fell into a bizarre stillness. As immortals, they naturally could tell that Tai Immortal Monarch was engaged in some kind of standoff with Guan. After shattering the celestial spirit great world, it was impossible for Tai Immortal Monarch to simply stop. Which means, it is very likely that Tai Immortal Monarch is being suppressed. Looking again at the cosmic debris around the battlefield, the hearts of the 72 immortals of the Golden Cave couldn't help but feel a chilling dread. Purple Dragon Star Monarch furrowed his brows tightly. He was surprised and even angered by Tai Immortal Monarch's actions to destroy the celestial spirit great world. How could the immortal gods recklessly destroy the Great Thousand World? After the Great Thousand World was reconstructed, the celestial court had clearly abolished the order of destruction. Even if the destruction order were still in place, it was supposed to be the god of destruction who ends it, and not even beings with higher ranks than immortal positions should act recklessly. For the so-called Son of Heaven, should the immortal monarchs go to such lengths? Purple Dragon Star Monarch's mind was in turmoil. He was loyal to Tai Immortal Monarch, but in his heart, the celestial court held a higher place than Tai Immortal Monarch. He supported Tai Immortal Monarch in siding with a son of heaven, but Tai Immortal Monarch's actions made him feel that there were other schemes behind it. The Son of Heaven was reincarnated into the celestial spirit great world. Even if Tai Immortal Monarch succeeded, how would a Son of Heaven who had developed feelings for the celestial spirit great world view Tai Immortal Monarch? He did not believe that Tai Immortal Monarch had not considered this point. If so, there was only one possibility. Are you actually eyeing the Celestial Emperor bloodline? Purple Dragon Star Monarch's eyes revealed a color of shock, as an uncontrollable rage surged from the bottom of his heart, followed by a change in his gaze. Anger turned into disbelief. What did he see? Not only Purple Dragon Star Monarch, but other Golden Cave Immortals also changed their countenance drastically, some even staring dumbfoundedly, yet not a single one of the Golden Cave Immortals broke the silence. All shocked, they gazed at the screen in front of them. Within the screen, Tai Immortal Monarch trembled all over, his legs beginning to bend as if he were about to kneel before Guan. Guan looked indifferent towards Tai Immortal Monarch, continuously intensifying the oppression of the Immortal Emperor's eye. He could make Tai Immortal Monarch kneel instantly, but he didn't do so. This slowly advancing despair and humiliation were more able to make Tai Immortal Monarch feel regret and fear. Even if he couldn't annihilate Tai Immortal Monarch completely, Guan still intended to leave behind an indelible fear. Tai Immortal Monarch clenched his teeth, spitting out a word. Having exhausted all his strength, he actually couldn't resist the oppressive force on his body. He had almost forgotten the taste of being utterly powerless to resist. He was a celestial immortal monarch, yet he was going to kneel before a mortal spirit. Tai Immortal Monarch found it absurd. Extreme rage and hatred nearly drove him mad, but madness could not save him. As time passed, the hatred of Tai Immortal Monarch was gradually replaced by despair. Source: Web Novel. Com, updated on Novlove. Com. If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know to report so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 637 Absolute Power. And Xian watched as Tai Immortal Monarch slowly knelt down, feeling a mix of emotions that were hard to articulate. There was a sense of relief, astonishment, and admiration for her master. At the same time, it was mostly the absurdity brought about by the collapse of the image of the immortal gods. Is this the immortal gods? Is this what represents the heavenly Tao, the existence that all living beings relentlessly pursue throughout their lives? When Tai Immortal Monarch's knees finally hit the ground, the pride of the immortal gods was completely torn apart. He lost his previous aura of divinity. Despite his eyes being covered, as he lowered his head, he emanated an air of decay and weakness from the inside out. The gazes of the 72 immortals of Golden Cave also became entirely dim. They dared not, nor could they continue to curse Guan. Tai Immortal Monarch was not only their lord but also their pride. The fact that he knelt down without any power to resist was something they could not accept. Just at this moment, the shattered universe within the light screen began to change, countless space fragments reversing towards the incoming direction. This scene drew the attention of the 72 immortals of Golden Cave. Under their gaze, the celestial spirit great world was quickly restored to its original state, leaving them in awe. What kind of power is this? Purple Dragon Star Monarch was shocked by Guan's display of divine power, stirring up peculiar feelings in his heart. The immortal monarch representing the might of the celestial court was bringing about destruction. Was Guan, deemed a heaven-defying being, saving all living beings? They watched as Guan raised his hand, and Tai Immortal Monarch shrank following his gesture, landing in the palm of his hand. Tai Immortal Monarch had been subdued as well. Afterward, they witnessed Guan turning Tai Immortal Monarch into a wooden token and hanging it on his waistband, amongst other tokens that looked similar to them. They finally understood what their fate would be. The light screen in front of them began to shrink, and the consciousness of the 72 immortals of Golden Cave also began to grow dim. Just like the light screen in front of them, they were being consumed by darkness. Purple Dragon Star Monarch did not worry about his fate, he was still pondering the scene of Tai Immortal Monarch kneeling. Not only him, but the other Golden Cave Immortals felt the same. Until everything submerged into darkness. Standing in front of the world gate, an Xian looked onwards, observing the celestial spirit great world restored to its original state, and feeling the vitality in the distance, her face showed a look of pleasant surprise. She stepped forward, walking up to Guan, and her gaze fell on his eyes. Guan did not conceal the Immortal Emperor's eye, allowing her to observe it. Previously, only she and Tai Immortal Monarch had seen the Immortal Emperor's eye. Even though the 72 Immortals of Golden Cave had heard the conversation between Guan and an Xian earlier, they had not seen the Immortal Emperor's eye nor heard the question asked by Tai Immortal Monarch before kneeling. As for Tai Immortal Monarch, Guan had ways to make him forget about the Immortal Emperor's eye. Apart from the path of power, Guan's greatest expertise was in the path of cause and effect. Erasing memories using the way of cause and effect was no difficult task. Master, that was not an illusion just now, was it? I saw him destroy the Great Thousand World, an Xian asked, suppressing her excitement. Guan revealed a smile, saying, what you felt was all real. Can your Immortal Emperor's eye restore everything? Or does it reverse time? An Xian used a respectful form of you, reflecting her emotions. Usually, she would not be impolite, but due to their familiarity, she would not address Guan so formally. This is also why the other disciples clearly sensed her favored status. Guan did not conceal anything and replied, my Immortal Emperor's eye can make what has vanished reappear and turn the existent into nothingness. He was also not afraid that an Xian would later reveal the mysteries of his Immortal Emperor's eye. His reliance was never on the Immortal Emperor's eye, he simply preferred to use it at the current stage. Moreover, he could enhance his Immortal Emperor's eye through the evolution of his lifespan. The Immortal Emperor's eye had already been integrated into his attribute panel. As long as he could see the entries, he could enhance it endlessly. And Xin's eyes widened with amazement as she exclaimed, that sounds so domineering. Isn't this absolute power over life and death? Her own Immortal Emperor's eye had infinite uses, capable of devouring power and also borrowing the power from the past and future, but essentially, it relied entirely on borrowing. Compared to her master's Immortal Emperor's eye divine power, it seemed fancy but was not as impressive. Master, compared to your Immortal Emperor's eye, mine is too weak. After the excitement, an Xian felt somewhat dejected, thinking she had disgraced the Immortal Emperor's eye. Guan raised his hand and rubbed her head, smiling, how powerful the Immortal Emperor's eye is depends on your cultivation level. One day, you will surpass the strength of the Immortal Emperor's eye I displayed just now. An Xian was comforted, thinking to herself that her master was truly confident, believing that he could still become stronger. If her master stood so high and was still actively getting stronger, how could she wallow in self-pity? Guan, hearing her inner thoughts, was pleased. Indeed, she was the disciple he valued the most, always pondering her master's words. Sir the Oval Fire. @ website on Google to access chapters of novels early and in the highest quality. Guan turned around, and with a sweep of his right hand along his belt, the wooden plaque transformed by Tai Immortal Monarch emitted a sphere of light that quickly flew into the depths of the cosmos. What is that? An Xian asked curiously. Guan replied, immortal gods cannot be completely annihilated but only suppressed. However, I can make him suffer through the torment of reincarnation, to let him experience the feeling of reversed status. From the moment Tai Immortal Monarch destroyed the celestial spirit great world, Guan dismissed the possibility that Tai Immortal Monarch would treat Tianhao well. Destroying the celestial spirit great world might be a way to leave a backhand, to attract the attention of the celestial court, but there is also the possibility of erasing cause and effect, preventing other entities from tracking down where Tianhao went. One may act differently based on different standpoints, but Tai Immortal Monarch had no justifiable reason to destroy the celestial spirit great world, yet he did it anyway, which displeased Guan. Although the profound star Immortal Monarch presented a facade of righteousness, the followers of the golden extreme god sent by the profound star Immortal monarch indeed have spread opportunities widely in the human world. As for arranging for the innate human race to cause disasters, this has similarities with the tribulations of heaven and earth. Guan, though not pleased, could not entirely deny it. Why can't immortal gods be eradicated? An Xian asked perplexed, her tone filled with indignation. Why should such entities be able to become immortal gods? Guan laughed and said, there are not so many whys. There must be a force stronger than us supporting them. Become stronger, and you can change the things you cannot currently change. An Xian smiled and nodded vigorously. Afterward, Guan led her toward the celestial spirit great world. There should be a long period of peace coming next. Guan was contemplating whether he should enhance his Daoist techniques to increase his combat strength before attempting to cross the tribulation during his next breakthrough. He had already reached the second great realm of the Daluo Dao fruit realm. Based on the previous realms, the next one would be the final layer of the Daluo Dao fruit, which will undoubtedly be difficult to break through. While thinking, Guan responded to Enzin's many curiosities about the previous battle. Although the battle had astonished an Xian, she completely failed to understand it. She did not know how Tai Immortal Monarch shattered the celestial spirit great world, nor how Guan pressured Tai Immortal Monarch into kneeling. What she was most curious about was Guan's divine power that turned people into little wooden plaques. That was not a simple transformation in the typical sense. She probed with her divine sense and found that those wooden plaques seemed to be made of common wood, showing no trace of anything unusual within. Source: Web Novel. Com, updated on Novlove. Com. If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know to report so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 638, The Struggle of the Celestial Army Within the vastness of the world. An endless army of silver-armored celestial soldiers is besieging a terrifying figure far larger than any mountain in the human world. This figure, resembling a demon turtle, is coiled in a terrifying demonic chi, with more than 10 flood dragons rampaging within it, and upon closer inspection, it becomes clear that these flood dragons are the turtle's tails. The demon turtle is so colossal that the figures besieging it appear as tiny as dust. A mere twitch from it could cause a catastrophic tremor shaking the heavens and the earth. In the distance, Zhang Buku, clad in silver armor, stands shoulder to shoulder with Suyu, who is also wearing silver armor but looking somewhat awkward compared to Zhang Buku's dignified bearing. Zhang Buku looks toward the distant battle with a face full of fear and shock. Among the silver-armored celestial soldiers participating in battle, none have a cultivation level lower than theirs. Their numbers exceed 10 million, hailing from different worlds of the Great Thousand World. Yet, the gathering of so many powerful warriors fails to make an impact on the demon turtle. This is a chaos evil demon. Such demons may not be the strongest, but it is said that the chaos harbors countless ones like it. If we can subdue this one, our celestial army might have a chance to be established, Suyu spoke with a tone full of emotion. Zhang Buku turned to look at him, asking in surprise, with so many reserve celestial soldiers, can we really become celestial gods? Suyu gave him a disdainful glance and said irritably, becoming a celestial god is not so simple. Only by holding our ground do we have a chance. If we are lucky enough to encounter extraordinary warriors, we could ride the winds to ascend, which is better than facing the heavenly Daoist trials alone. After hearing this, Zhang Buku once again shifted his gaze towards the distant chaos evil demon. Taking a deep breath, he leaped and joined the battle, with Suyu not lingering and following closely behind. As far as the eye can see, figures from all directions are still relentlessly charging toward the chaos evil demon, and there are always those who fall, with the vast earth strewn with blood and dismembered limbs. All those participating in this battle are either the top talents or the most powerful from various worlds. Yet, in the presence of the chaos evil demon, they seem as insignificant as insects, their spells and divine skills not even capable of dispersing the demonic chi surrounding it. At the same time, atop layers of clouds, a formidable figure overlooks it all, donned in the oppressive silver armor of the celestial court. Behind him stand two immortal gods in robes, looking down indifferently at the battle below. As immortal gods, they have witnessed countless such battles and they do not sympathize with the fallen, for anyone who has come here has done so with resolution, and even in death, they harbor no regrets. The celestial calming god slowly said, "This batch of the celestial army doesn't have many with great potential. Even if they survive this ordeal, few are likely to achieve greatness." The two immortal gods behind him silently nodded, each holding a jade disc in one hand and their other hands swiftly moving as though writing something. The news that Tai Immortal Monarch had been suppressed by Guan did not spread, at least in the celestial spirit great world, except for Guan and an Xian. No one knew that Tai Immortal Monarch had been there. And after Tai Immortal Monarch's soul was cast into reincarnation, the celestial spirit great world also did not experience any significant upheavals. It wasn't until the celestial spirit god stepped out from the world gate that he stood before it, sensing something faintly, and looked at the celestial spirit great world with shock in his eyes. He could feel a trace of presence left by Tai Immortal Monarch. Tai Immortal Monarch had been here, but nothing had happened to the celestial spirit great world. What did that indicate? Search *the novel fire. Net website on Google to access chapters of novels early and in the highest quality. His reverence for Guan deepened. He had guessed that Guan possessed the great power to contend with Tai Immortal Monarch, but he had not thought that this battle would end in silence. What did that indicate? There could be a vast disparity between Tai Immortal Monarch and Guan. The celestial spirit god took a deep breath, a smile appearing on his face as he felt everything was heading in a favorable direction. He returned to his previous spot and sat down to continue his cultivation. Sending Tian Hao to the misty immortal court, he too was deeply moved. After many years, the misty immortal court remained unfathomable, and his close friend had already surpassed him, filling him with a fighting spirit. To know, his talents had been acknowledged by the celestial court. Before becoming the celestial spirit god, his life was filled with nothing but cheers and praises. As the celestial spirit god closed his eyes, the gears of time in the human world began to speed up. A year passes as if a day. In the blink of an eye. Another 10,000 years have passed, the human world has changed beyond recognition, and countless living beings have come and gone, yet the faces governing heaven and earth haven't changed much. This year, as spring ended, Guan stood at the mountaintop, facing the wind as he stood upright. An hour earlier, he had used the lifespan projection feature, hoping to enhance his path of power. To him now, spending 1 trillion years of his lifespan wasn't too painful. After the consumption, he still had over 14 trillion years left. As the projection ended, a prompt appeared before his eyes, and he couldn't help but close his eyes to start feeling the insights of the path of power. The spiritual energy between heaven and earth suddenly halted, and the Tao rules began to change, causing the creatures on this land to feel suppressed. This time, Guan didn't pass on his Tao insights within a dojo. Instead, he deliberately chose a continent with a less advanced immortal cultivation atmosphere for the transfer of his insights. As Guan pursued enlightenment, the power of the great Tao began to pour into this mainland. Countless cultivators felt uneasy due to the change in nature's spiritual energy, but before long, they felt an inexplicable sense that made them subconsciously review the cultivation techniques they've mastered. Soon, this continent fell into silence as the influence of Guan's pursuit of enlightenment continued to expand, reaching out towards the oceans and other continents. After a long while, Guan's enlightenment came to an end, and he opened his eyes, then disappeared from the spot. After his departure, silhouettes streaked across the sky. These people carried the aura of saints, like enlightened ascetics, observing the mountains and rivers along the way as if in search of something. Guan arrived in a city of the human world in one step. It was a mortal city with only a few cultivators who kept their cultivation levels hidden, unknown to others. He entered a bookshop and started to peruse the collection. His thoughts drifted to Jianghu of the Tai's great world. Jianghu had suddenly disappeared for a few thousand years, and even Guan could not divine his karma. Guan speculated it was related to the celestial court. Fortunately, Zhang Buku later returned unharmed to the Tai's great world, so Guan did not think too much about it. Whenever Zhang Buku and Suyu mentioned the celestial court, Guan could not hear nor deduce anything. Perhaps this was why the celestial court was so mysterious. Even reaching the Daoyuo Dao fruit realm, one cannot pry into the celestial court's karma. Although Zhang Buku had returned, his will was clearly dejected, and Guan hesitated whether to give him some guidance or not. Guan could guess that Zhang Buku might have suffered a setback in the land of the celestial court. Most likely, he failed in competing for a celestial Dao immortal position with other outstanding figures, or lost hope and was hugely hit. On the other hand, Suyu was unaffected and started to frolic in the human world and stopped cultivating after returning to the Tai's great world. Guan thought about these things, but soon his attention was caught by the books in his hands. When it comes to writing, books by mortals are indeed more delightful to read. Those written by cultivators are too utilitarian and lack the delicacy in expressing human emotions. Dear customer, if you like this Yen Lao's Secret Lover, why not buy it? If you purchase the whole set, it'll even include original character illustrations drawn by the author, the bookkeeper approached enthusiastically. Guan closed the book in his hands, put it back on the shelf, and turned to leave. Seeing this, the bookkeeper's face showed displeasure. Looking decent enough, but why only look and not spend any money? How stingy. Shopkeeper, take out all the illustrations you mentioned, I'll buy them, said Guan, his voice drifting back, clearing the cloud from the bookkeeper's face and bringing a beaming smile. All right. Dear customer, just give me a moment. Source, web novel. Com, updated on Novlove. Com. If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know to report so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 639, The World's Number One Determination. The setting sun dipped below the horizon within the Daoist field of the beginningless. Humming a tune, Guan walked along the mountain path, feeling rather pleased and occasionally reaching out to touch the flowers and plants along the way. After half a day of contemplation, he decided not to assist Zhang Buku, but rather to let Zhang Buku solve his own predicaments. His intention was to ensure the preservation of Zhang Buku's life. He was also curious to see how Suyu would help Zhang Buku become one of the heavenly court immortals. Upon reaching the courtyard atop the mountain, as soon as Guan entered, the long-awaiting celestial Cyan and Tian Bai approached him. Aside from them, only Shenzhen and the white spirit rat were in the courtyard. Master, Emperor Tianhong wishes to be disciples at the Daoist field of the beginningless, what do you think? Celestial Cyan asked first. Tian Bai also looked at Guan with anticipation. Early this morning, Emperor Tianhong from the Dao court arrived at the Jianghu sect, causing a huge commotion. He proclaimed his desire to become a disciple of the beginningless, an announcement that startled the upper echelons of the Jianghu sect, prompting them to call upon Celestial Cyan and Tian Bai. 20,000 years ago, Wuxia disciples emerged, saving all living beings. Although it was ultimately the supporting Dao sword venerable who reversed the tides of chaos, the exploits and great fame of the Wuxia disciples remained illustrious. These disciples, with realms not considered top-tier during their time, wielded mysterious Dao treasures and were undefeated, leaving a profound impression on all the major sects of the world. The location of the beginningless was easy to speculate, so it was not surprising that the Dao court disciples managed to find the Jianghu sect. However, Emperor Tianhong, the most illustrious figure post-catastrophe of the innate human race, expressing a desire to join the beginningless, caused a tremor throughout the Jianghu sect. The Jianghu sect was itself established with the support of the beginningless, so they held it in good esteem, feeling that if a personage like Emperor Tianhong were to switch his allegiance to the beginningless, it would bode well for them, perhaps even securing him as a connection for their future. Guan replied offhandedly, "Do not accept him, and also inform everyone under the heavens that the beginningless does not recruit disciples. Those fated will join the beginningless naturally. Even if Emperor Tianhong were not a pawn of the Tai immortal monarch, he still would not accept him. He only takes disciples based on a connection of fate. As for talent, it is secondary. The world is vast, brimming with countless geniuses. Though the Blood Prison Great Saint is currently the undisputed top disciple in the dojo, there are many across the world whose talent surpasses his. In this new era, every so often, an extraordinary genius carrying the destiny of heaven and earth is born, and ordinary humans with lifespans reaching the limit of 9,999 years can be found everywhere. On his occasional travels, Guan has encountered such individuals with the ultimate lifespan, merely giving them a second glance without the inclination to take disciples. Master, Emperor Tianhong's fame is unparalleled, and with Tian Hao gone, no one in the world can compare to him. If we accept him, it will surely enhance the renown of our beginningless. If you do not wish to teach him personally, you can let us accept him as disciples, Celestial Cyan continued, having encountered increasingly more fame and fortune since managing Jianghu's sect on behalf of an ex-Cyan, which also caused a shift in their thoughts. They wanted the beginningless to be renowned across the world, to become the preeminent Holy Land. They believed that with Guan, the beginningless was incomparable to any Dao court. Circling around them, Guan walked towards his own room, while saying, "I do not seek fame. If you wish to chase after vanity, you are free to go out and establish your own sect in the future." Hearing this, Celestial Cyan and Tian Bai looked at each other. They dared not persuade Guan any further. In front of the artifact refining cauldron, Shenzhen glanced at them and shook her head slightly, but said nothing. Even the disciples within the Daoist field of the beginningless were starting to pursue fame and fortune. It seemed the world was likely to become embroiled in conflict once again. Thinking this, Shenzhen, who has long contemplated the path of cause and effect, gained deeper insights into the movement of destiny in the world. The world has been reshaped for nearly 100,000 years. Besides the earlier calamities wrought by the innate human race in the human world, a peaceful backdrop has always prevailed. However, human hearts are restless, and disputes will inevitably arise. But even if chaos engulfs the world, what concern is it of hers? Shenzhen withdrew her thoughts and continued her contemplation of the great Tao. After staying in place for a while, Celestial Cyan and Tian Bai went to the Jianghu sect to reject Emperor Tianhong. They waited until night fell. The two women returned. Walking through the forest, they stopped before a stream. Celestial Cyan turned her head, her peripheral vision glancing back, and said, "Please return, further ahead is unauthorized entry into Wuxia." A figure emerged from the deep woods, an attractive man dressed in blue with an extraordinary demeanor, unable to hide the pride between his eyebrows. He was none other than the current first pride of Dao Court, Emperor Tianhong. Emperor Tianhong looked at the two women and said, "I will not force my way into Wuxia, I just want to prove my determination to the supporting Dao Sword Venerable." Celestial Cyan and Tian Bai crossed the stream and then turned to face Emperor Tianhong. Emperor Tianhong approached the stream, lifted his robe, and knelt on the spot. Seeing this, a glimmer of joy passed through the eyes of the two women. Although they had refused Emperor Tianhong, deep down they still hoped that Wuxia could have such an exceptional talent like him, so that the name of Wuxia would become even more widespread. They did not dare to defy Guan, and could only hope that Emperor Tianhong could sway Guan with his own efforts. Tian Bai warned, "If you cross this river without permission, you may not only forfeit your chance of entering Wuxia but also face irrecoverable doom." Emperor Tianhong, kneeling before the river, puffed out his chest and raised his head, his expression resolute. Despite no reply, he had already revealed his determination. Celestial Cyan and Tian Bai turned and left, disappearing into the night. Beneath the night sky, the mountains and forests were tranquil, with occasional insects chirping, calming Emperor Tianhong's heart. Even though he was currently regarded as the foremost prodigy in the world, Emperor Tianhong felt no humiliation as this was his choice. Memories from thousands of years ago surfaced in his mind. He had wandered the world, visiting a place known as the Taitsang continent. Hearing that the supreme sect had once been blessed by an immortal, he went there to explore. It was not until he stepped onto the heaven-repairing platform and grasped the axe that he knew. After a brief moment of astonishment, he firmed up a thought in his mind. He must acquire this legacy. Unable to lift the heaven-splitting axe, he could only pursue the supporting Dao sword venerable. He returned to the Dao court and, using the court's power, eventually discovered that the venerable was hidden within the 9-spirit continent. Sir, the novel Fire. Net ** website on Google to access chapters of novels early and in the highest quality. To break away from the Dao court, he did not immediately head to the 9-spirit continent. Instead, he spent thousands of years fervently completing Dao court tasks as his reply to the Dao court. His will also attracted the attention of the master of the Dao court, Yuan Songzi, who after understanding his determination, also expressed support. Yuan Songzi knew better than Emperor Tianhong the strength of the supporting Dao sword venerable. In Yuan Songzi's eyes, following the venerable for cultivation, Emperor Tianhong would be able to display even greater talent and truly surpass Tianhao. With the support of his sect, Emperor Tianhong felt lighter about this journey. He had anticipated hitting a wall, so he was not in a hurry. For him now, waiting was blissful, his heart filled with endless anticipation. He was delighted throughout this entire night. Days passed by. Celestial Cyan, Tian Bai, and White Spirit Rat occasionally passed by him, but he remained unmoved, kneeling before the river. After kneeling for 10 years, his state of mind was still without ripples. However, when he had knelt for hundreds of years and still had not seen the supporting Dao sword venerable, a sense of panic finally began to emerge in his heart. He had abandoned everything and came with determination. If he couldn't enter as a disciple under the supporting Dao sword venerable, how would he face the Dao court? How would he establish himself in this world? A myriad of thoughts began to invade Emperor Tianhong's mind, his hands clenching his knees, exerting a slight force. Source: Web Novel. Com, updated on Novlove. Com. If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know to report so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 640, Kneeling for 10,000 Years. Emperor Tianhong's heart was in turmoil. Although everything in his eyes had not changed with the passage of 100 years, he felt a tremendous malice. He couldn't imagine the situation he would face returning to the Dao court after failing to become a disciple, let alone the Dao court. When he came to the Qianquan sect, how many disciples of the Qianquan sect watched him? The more he thought about it, the more panicked he became, even developing a sense of rage in his heart. This anger was so confused even he couldn't tell whom it was directed at. Hate the supporting Dao sword venerable? But supporting Dao sword venerable had no reason or obligation to take him in. If anyone was to blame, it was his own insufficient talent. The supporting Dao sword venerable had taken Tianhao as a disciple, and Tianhao was the champion of his era before him. Since before his birth, Tianhao had vanished, so there were always people who believed he was not the strongest champion of all time because he never defeated Tianhao. After the tribulation of the innate human race, everyone knew that Tianhao was a disciple of the supporting Dao sword venerable, which made Tianhao even more legendary. When Tianhao disappeared, people liked to use him to suppress the geniuses of the world. In fact, while Tianhao was alive, he also endured the same doubts Emperor Tianhong faces today. But regardless, without defeating Tianhao, Emperor Tianhong could not truly consider himself the greatest champion through the ages. Emperor Tianhong's thoughts ran wild uncontrollably. Even though reason told him that 100 years was nothing, he couldn't help but dwell on it. Kneeling by the small river, as he gazed at his own reflection on the water's surface, Emperor Tianhong suddenly felt very vulnerable and truly unworthy of the title of the world's #1 champion. It was at that moment he saw a figure emerging from the depths of the forest on the opposite side. As he made out the person's face, a confused expression appeared on his own. It was neither Celestial Cyan nor Tian Bai. He had never seen this woman before. The newcomer was an Xian. An Xian, in her cyan dress with delicate makeup, had cool and distant eyes and brows, resembling a fairy living reclusively in the mountains. Her aura, untainted by the mundane world, caused Emperor Tianhong's gaze to shift. An Xian saw Emperor Tianhong, her expression as cold as ever. She walked to the front of the river and stopped. Her gaze landed on Emperor Tianhong, her eyes without a ripple of emotion. I heard you are the Dao Court's #1 talent and the strongest one in the world today. We are both divine immortals of wondrous Dharma. How about we spar? An Xian spoke, her tone allowing no refusal. Emperor Tianhong frowned and asked, "May I ask if fellow Daoist is a Wuxia disciple?" An Xian answered, "I am considered the foremost disciple of Wuxia. If you defeat me, you will be eligible to join Wuxia." Upon hearing this, Emperor Tianhong's eyes blazed with a fierce light. Having knelt and waited for 100 years, his mood was already irritable. With Nzin's sudden approach, it seemed like the very opportunity he had been yearning for. He wanted to show the sword venerable his talent. Emperor Tianhong stood up, with mud and grass falling from his legs. His aura changed abruptly, the wild wind howled, causing the surrounding trees to shake violently. "Where shall we spar?" Emperor Tianhong asked, his intense gaze domineering, his hair dancing wildly like flames. Nzin's eyes flickered with purple light. She replied indifferently, "No need to go elsewhere, right here will do. It will be over quickly." Sia the novel Fire. Net ** website on Google to access chapters of novels early and in the highest quality. Emperor Tianhong felt humiliated, his robe began to billow, a terrifying aura emanated from within him. Meanwhile, inside an inn belonging to the Jianghu sect, Guan was drinking with his friends who enjoyed meat and wine, when suddenly they felt a terrifying aura coming from afar. This wine and meat friend named Xiaozhua exclaimed in shock and suspicion, could it be someone is causing trouble within the sect? Although the Jianghu sect of today is far from comparing to the Dao court, in the eyes of the rank-and-file disciples, the Jianghu sect is an authentic and major power, dominating a region. Whoever dares to cause trouble within the Jianghu sect is truly seeking death. Guan laughed and said, "Since it's happening within the sect, why should we worry? Let's keep drinking and continue talking about Lang's affairs." Lang, the offspring of the sect hierarchy Qingshan, may not be considered outstanding in terms of talent within the family, but with his free-spirited and unrestrained character, he always manages to do things that become the subject of much gossip. Xiaozhua thought that Gu An's words made sense, so he resumed recounting the tales of Lang's amorous exploits. The terrifying aura appeared abruptly and dissipated just as quickly. The entire process took less than 10 breaths, which led to much speculation among the disciples of the Jianghu sect in various cities. In the forest, Emperor Tianhong was half kneeling in front of a river, one hand propped against his knee, the other dangling naturally, as he laboriously raised his head to look up, his face covered in cold sweat and bloodshot eyes. An Xian stood on the opposite side of the river, about a zhang away from him, her purple pupils gradually retracting their unusual shimmer. Compared to Emperor Tianhong's face full of shock and fear, Nzin's expression remained indifferent. How is this possible? What divine skill was that just now? Emperor Tianhong ground his teeth and asked. He couldn't accept his own crushing defeat, especially since it was at the hands of someone in the same realm. An Xian replied, "This is a divine skill taught to me by my master. You don't need to feel sad about it. Although we are in the same realm, I reached this realm long before you were born. Your talent is still higher than mine, but it's not so simple to get accepted into Wuxia." Having said this, she stepped forward and flickered past Emperor Tianhong, heading toward the Jianghu sect. Emperor Tianhong looked down and asked through clenched teeth, "Did the sword venerable send you here? He doesn't have that kind of leisure time. I just sensed that your Dao heart was wavering. It's only been a century, yet you can't hold on, which disappoints those in the dojo who have expectations for you. However, retreating is also not a problem. There are many paths in the world, and you don't necessarily have to enter Wuxia." An Xian didn't stop her steps, her figure gradually disappearing into the distance. Upon hearing this, Emperor Tianhong's pupils dilated, and a color of shame surged in his heart. Indeed. It's only been a century. What is a century to cultivators? Memories of the previous battle flashed through Emperor Tianhong's mind, and his eyes became fervent. Being such formidable Wuxia disciples serves to prove the profound heritage of Wuxia. Even if it takes 1,000 years, or 10,000 years, he must enter Wuxia. Emperor Tianhong straightened his spine and knelt once more. This time, he swept away his previous impatience, and his gaze returned to the steadfastness of when he had first arrived. A gentle breeze passed by, lifting the hair beside his ears. Amidst the sound of the wind, he seemed to hear the supporting Dao sword venerable calling out to him. Calling out the word, disciple. Emperor Tianhong's lips curved upwards, for Anzin's strength made him long for Wuxia all the more. Years went by quickly. When tens of thousands of years had once again passed, the forest where Emperor Tianhong was located seemed unchanged, as if secluded from the world, unaffected by the rules of heaven and earth. There was no alteration in Emperor Tianhong's attire, but his hair had grown longer, and his beard reached the ground. He kept his eyes closed, his whole being radiating an aura of profound mystery. Not far off, on a tree branch, Guan and an Xian stood side by side, observing Emperor Tianhong. An Xian spoke up, "Master, if you truly do not wish to accept him, shall I drive him away?" Emperor Tianhong's decade-long kneeling did not only move her. Other disciples of the dojo also became aware of this man's determination and were touched by it. As the #1 prodigy of the world, he has managed to patiently kneel in this place for tens of thousands of years, which is unimaginable how resolute his determination is. If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc. Please let us know to report so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 641 Celestial Plan, Chaos Grudge Luo, no need, I didn't say I'd definitely not take him as a disciple. Guan looked down at Emperor Tianhong and replied softly. The reasons he did not take Emperor Tianhong as a disciple were, firstly, he did not favor him, and secondly, Emperor Tianhong was a reincarnation of an immortal god, with the consequences of Tai immortal monarch's karma trailing behind. However, reincarnation creates a new personality. Judging from Emperor Tianhong's inner voice, he genuinely wished to take Guan as his master. The reason why Guan was hesitating was because he wanted to wait until he achieved his own breakthrough before accepting him, using the opportunity to further temper Emperor Tianhong. An Xian remarked with emotion, if it were Tianhong kneeling, managing to kneel for 100 years would be already quite good. Setting aside talent, she felt that even she herself wouldn't be able to kneel for 10,000 years. Guan's eyes did not show any change as he gazed at Emperor Tianhong, probing into his future. Standing near Emperor Tianhong, he still did not notice the two of them. After kneeling for 10,000 years, Emperor Tianhong had entered a state of self-forgetfulness. He was contemplating the natural laws of heaven and earth, thus forgetting the torment of time. By the way, Master, how is Tianhong faring these days? An Xian turned to Guan and asked curiously. She believed her master could see the situation of the misty immortal court. Guan smiled and said, "Mixed blessings, but in any case, he won't die." Hearing this, an Xian was completely relieved, and then she began to talk about the affairs of the world. Over the years, she occasionally replaced Celestial Cyan and Tian Bai in dealings with the Jianghu sect. After all, she couldn't let the two always be busy, she also needed time to relax. The current world could be said to be in the same state every millennium, with heroes coming forth in great numbers. The ruling power of the Dao court was weakening, mainly due to the rising number of forces. The Dao court, upholding the Dao, could only watch as other powers grew stronger. With more and more powerful forces emerging, the strife in the world would naturally increase. However, compared to the calamity brought by outer heaven, the conflicts within the world seemed trivial. An Xian talked about a prodigy that had risen in the Dao court in the recent 10,000 years. It was undeniable that the Dao court had a profound foundation. Just as Emperor Tianhong had left for 10,000 years, another number one prodigy emerged, and now people were using Emperor Tianhong to suppress this prodigy. Without initiating a war, it seems that only creating momentum can maintain the Dao court's absolute ruling position, said an Xian in a teasing tone. Guan did not comment on the Dao court. He had a deeper understanding of it than an Xian did, as he often stayed at the Dao court to accompany Xiaolan. Xiaolan had good talent, and with the support from Gu An's Dao intent, she had always been one of the top prodigies of the Dao court. However, because she disliked public attention, the title of the number one prodigy never fell upon her. Recently, the Dao court was preparing to initiate the celestial plan, aiming to search for other great thousand worlds. Having no intention to suppress the sects within the world, they sought to pursue stronger powers and greater resources. Such ambitions filled most of the upper echelons with pride, feeling that they possessed a higher vision than the world's sects, embodying the magnanimity of the world's common lord. Guan thought the Dao court's idea was quite good, and he was ready to ask the celestial spirit god to help facilitate it. Born in the celestial spirit great world, he also wanted to see different developments from the past emerge there. If every era was headed towards destruction, then Gu An's effort in saving all living beings would lose its purpose. His decision was not to let the Dao court grow unbridled, but he felt that cultivators should always climb higher and chase after the great Dao. The existence of the world gate seemed more like a restraint on the development of cultivators. No matter how one looked at it, the world gate did not seem like a natural phenomenon. At this moment, Guan was considering whether or not to allow the disciples of his dojo to venture out. He had his disciples in seclusion all year round in order to accumulate their strength, not to limit their freedom. His greatest concern was Chen Chuan. When Xiao Chuan was first reincarnated as Chen Chuan, he encountered a mysterious karmic force that cursed him, nearly causing the death of his parents. When the innate human race caused trouble, Chen Chuan went out for experiences and did not suffer from the curse again, which is why Guan considered letting him go out as well. After much deliberation, Guan decided to leave the choice to Chen Chuan. "Let's go for a walk outside." Having said this, Guan jumped down, followed closely by an Xian. They passed by Emperor Tianhong, with Guan even giving his shoulder a light pat. Emperor Tianhong seemed to sense something, opened his eyes, but saw nothing. He thought it was just a breeze. Perhaps it was because he had knelt for such a long time that he didn't rush to enter Wuxia. He felt that his current state was conducive to enlightenment. The path of power, strange, how did I come to comprehend such a forceful great Dao? Emperor Tianhong muttered to himself, not thinking it was because his talent was too strong. He had never felt like this in the Dao court before. He had a realization in his heart. Even though the supporting Dao sword venerable had not shown himself, with an Xian probing him, it was impossible for the sword venerable to not be aware of him. Perhaps his current insights were a gift from the supporting Dao sword venerable. Emperor Tianhong was not surprised, for even without such a gift, he would persist. The greatest benefit of kneeling for 10,000 years was that he had shed the pressure brought on by being called the foremost of the proud celestials. Vain titles are but passing clouds. He is Emperor Tianhong, he wanted to find the true meaning of his existence. Above the boundless sea of clouds, an enormous golden furnace floated. On its surface were engraved various divine beast patterns and majestic mountains and rivers, and crowning it were some towering peaks, exuding a grand presence. The yellow-robed Daoist, who had played Go with Tai Immortal Monarch earlier, stood at the edge of a cliff, looking down at the world inside the furnace. The furnace interior was a world unto itself with mountains and rivers, and even fierce beasts fighting. The robust Dao spiritual qi would rush up like the wind from time to time. The yellow-robed Daoist furrowed his brows, deep in thought. Right at that moment, a golden ring of light appeared beside him, quickly expanding, and a figure stepped out from within. The newcomer was the celestial calming god. The leader of the celestial army, whom Zhang Buku and Suyu had pledged allegiance to, was the celestial calming god. The celestial calming god raised his hand in salute and said, "Immortal monarch, anomalies from chaos are emerging in the 3,000 great worlds, rapidly dispersing to each of the great 1,000 worlds. One of these anomalies has even come to trial under my command. This is not good. Sar the Nell Fire." Enter website on Google to access chapters of novels early and in the highest quality. The one known as Huang Feng Immortal Monarch, the yellow-robed Daoist, tilted his head to look at him and asked, "Anomalies from chaos? Which anomaly?" The celestial calming god responded, "It should be Chaos Grudge Luo. I have captured immense resentment from the soul's depths of that infiltrator. If left unchecked and allowed to spread rapidly, it will become a great calamity." Grudge Luo? The eyes of Huang Feng Immortal Monarch flickered, sinking into contemplation. The celestial calming god stopped speaking, waiting for Huang Feng Immortal Monarch's command. After a long while, Huang Feng Immortal Monarch spoke, "Do not act rashly for now. Perhaps Grudge Luo's existence is linked to bigger karma and causality." The celestial calming god frowned, hesitated for a moment, and said, "If left unchecked, many living beings will die. If we don't eradicate the roots of this disaster along with it, even more living beings will die." The words of Huang Feng Immortal Monarch caused the celestial calming god's frown to deepen. He gave Huang Feng Immortal Monarch a long look, no longer objecting. Huang Feng Immortal Monarch still stared into the world within the golden furnace and said, "Since you're here, take this trip for me. Go to Profound Star Immortal Monarch and deliver this item to him." With that, he lifted his right hand, and a piece of Jianghu enveloped by billowing purple qi appeared in his palm, swiftly flying towards the celestial calming god. If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know to report so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 642 True Immortal's Appearance in the Blink of an Eye. 1,000 years have passed. In the Dao Court, within Shaolan's grotto heaven, Guan and Shaolan were sitting in a small pavilion, drinking and chatting. Shaolan was talking about the celestial plan she had just learned about, and she wanted to venture into the outer heaven. Guan listened attentively, but his thoughts were on his own lifespan. His lifespan had accumulated to over 2 trillion years, and currently, he gains about 50 million years annually, even without expanding Medicine Valley. "Brother Gu, do you think I should join the celestial plan?" Shaolan asked hesitantly. She wanted to join, to experience a broader world and have the chance for greater opportunities, but she couldn't take Guan with her and didn't know how many years it would take before she could return. Guan smiled and said, "If you want to go, then go. If you're worried about me, there's no need. Just think about it, you often seclude yourself for cultivation, and I still live well. I have many friends in the Dao Court, I am not alone. Go ahead and venture, I will wait for you here to return." Upon hearing this, Shaolan's face lit up with a smile, as Brother Gu was always so supportive of her. Thinking about it, Guan managed to stay in the Dao Court for tens of thousands of years without any issue, which proves his capability in handling affairs. She didn't have such a big influence in the Dao Court, even peerless prodigies and great figures occasionally find themselves in trouble. Shaolan continued, "My master also wants me to advance, to strive for the top treatment as the first prodigy in the Dao Court." After Emperor Tianhong left, although the Dao Court promoted another unparalleled prodigy, there's a clear gap compared to Emperor Tianhong. "My master said I have a chance to take the title of the top prodigy, and she will mobilize all her connections to build momentum for me." Guan listened carefully. Where there are people, there are rivalries like those of the martial world, especially in a major power like the Dao Court, where the internal power struggles are extremely fierce. Behind each prized prodigy, there are numerous cultivators striving to support them. The number of cultivators in the Dao Court is countless, many are unknown geniuses or powerhouses. The reason for their obscurity is due to lack of promotion. Talking about Emperor Tianhong, Shaolan sighed, "I have seen Emperor Tianhong, he truly had an imposing presence, making one feel at first sight that he could make a name for himself in the world. The Dao court also treated him very well, giving him the best resources. Yet he chose to go and apprentice under the supporting Dao sword venerable. I heard that the supporting Dao sword venerable has repeatedly saved the world, truly a true immortal of the human world, but how can Wuxia compare to the Dao court? Guan laughed. Maybe what he's pursuing is a stronger Daoist technique. Cultivation lies in the individual. Although the Wuxi's disciples are famous for a while, their cultivation level is not far superior to the contemporary talents. Mainly they rely on the Dao treasures of the beginningless to fight, which shows the cultivation resources Wuxia can provide are not top-notch. After all, they reside hidden in a small corner of the world. Xiaolan shook her head, saying she didn't know much about the supporting Dao sword venerable, but in her view, the Dao court is the strongest sect. After all, she belongs to the Dao court. Guan found her questioning of Wuxia interesting and added, anyway, this is your opportunity. The road to immortal cultivation is extremely long, and everyone has their choices. You once made a decision that others around you didn't understand, which was to always take me with you. Xiaolan blinked and said, that's different. During the conversation, she moved closer to Guan, tightly hugging his arm. If something happens to Brother Gu one day, and I need to give up my cultivation, I will not hesitate. TSK, aren't you cursing me? Hey, I am expressing my true feelings here, why aren't you moved? I do not hope for that day to come, and I will not let you face such a choice. Guan raised his hand and wrapped it around Xiaolan's waist, speaking softly. Xiaolan feels very happy in this life, now without any worries in her heart, something Guan is pleased to see and will do his best to maintain. Unlike dealing because she was his junior sister, Guan accompanied her in person. The mature medicinal herbs could afford a delay of a month. After Xiaolan left Grotto Heaven, Guan then went to other medicine valleys to start collecting medicinal herbs. As Xiaolan began to pursue the higher great Dao of heaven and earth, Guan felt that he also needed to step up and improve the lifespan and income of each medicine valley. Xiaolan followed the Dao court and flew in the void for several years before finally arriving at the legendary World Gate. There were hundreds of people on this journey. Like her, there were 20 geniuses in total, the others were great cultivators of the Dao court, all with cultivation levels above the Zizai immortal realm, and leading them was Yuan Songzi, the master of the Dao court. Yuan Songzi performed the cloud ascending technique, carrying everyone as they flew together. CTH Nefire. Et website on Google to access chapters of novels early and in the highest quality. Above the clouds, Xiaolan gazed far into the distance at the World Gate, utterly astonished by it. Even though she was a divine immortal of wondrous Dharma, she instinctively felt overwhelmed. The majestic aura of the great Tao made her breath quicken. It was not just her, the other cultivators felt the same. Except for Yuan Songzi, it was the first time for everyone else to see the World Gate. They quickly landed on the square in front of the World Gate. Yuan Songzi walked briskly forward and bowed to the celestial spirit god in front of him. Everyone's gaze fell on the celestial spirit god who was shrouded in the celestial Dao immortal light, rendering his true appearance inscrutable. Is this the true form of an immortal god? Xiaolan marveled inwardly, feeling somewhat regretful. Such a majestic celestial gate, such formidable immortal gods, and Brother Gu could not see it, truly a great regret in life. In the human world, 99% of cultivators spend their entire lives unable to witness the form of an immortal. The celestial spirit god did not speak, but the world gate behind him began to tremble, and strong light from the heavenly Tao burst forth. Everyone pass by the celestial god in turn and pay respects, follow me through the gate. Yuan Songzi spoke as he turned back, then walked towards the intense light inside the world gate. The others followed closely, each person's presence affecting the celestial spirit god as they approached. When it was Xiaolan's turn, she also bowed, but whether it was an illusion or not, she felt the celestial spirit god's form seemed to change, but she didn't dare to look closely and quickly moved away. After everyone from the Dao court had vanished into the world gate, the celestial spirit god opened his eyes, the celestial Tao immortal light dispersed, and he murmured with a frown, "Strange, why did that girl make my heart flutter?" Could it be, the celestial spirit god suddenly guessed a possibility, his expression turning peculiar. He raised his eyes to look towards the celestial spirit great world, his gaze landing beside the Jianghu sect. He couldn't probe Wuxia, but he could see Emperor Tianhong's kneeling figure. He could also sense that Emperor Tianhong was a reincarnation of an immortal god, so he was curious about how Guan would treat Emperor Tianhong. His gaze then shifted to the human world, but unfortunately, no matter how he searched, he could not find the reincarnated form of Tai Immortal Monarch. And he did not know where Tai Immortal Monarch was suffering. As it happens, this is already the second immortal god to descend and suffer. Will there be more immortal gods reincarnated and suffering in the celestial spirit great world due to offending Guan? If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know to report so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 643, Zhao Rushan, the struggle of the Daoist emperor. The sunlight, filtering through the gaps in the leaves, shone onto the river, creating a golden phosphorescence. Emperor Tianhong was still kneeling by the river, his beard touching the ground, knees deep in the mud, his eyes closed, his black hair spilling out. He seemed to merge with the forest, his breath natural. Thousands of years have passed since Shaolin left, and Emperor Tianhong has been kneeling there for over 21,000 years. Footsteps approached from behind, and a man dressed in black appeared. He was handsome, with his black hair coiled up under a headpiece, a sword and a gourd hanging at his waist. He was like an unsheathed treasure sword, impossible to restrain. The legendary foremost pride of the world, Emperor Tianhong, nurtured by the Tao court to be the Daoist emperor, yet kneeling here unable to rise. It seems the supporting Tao sword venerable holds you in low regard. Do you have any regrets? The man in black stopped, his voice cold as he stared at Emperor Tianhong's back. Without opening his eyes, Emperor Tianhong asked softly, "Who are you?" His voice was slightly hoarse, as if he hadn't spoken in a long time. "Zhao Rushan, I too am known as the foremost pride of the world," the man in black answered coldly. Emperor Tianhong remained silent. Zhao Rushan continued, "You might not recognize me, but I have seen you. When I first entered the Tao court with no prominent talents, I saw you returning from slaying demons, and the entire city's disciples shouting your name. You were who I, and all disciples, aspired to become." Listening to him, Emperor Tianhong still did not utter a sound. "You left the Tao court, making me who I am today. I received substantial support from the Tao court, becoming the new foremost pride of the world, sweeping through peers of my realm. I fought across the land for 1,000 years without rest. Yet, many compare me to you, saying I have not defeated you, and do not deserve the title of the foremost in the world." As Zhao Rushan spoke, he paused, his gaze sharpening. "So, you came to challenge me?" Emperor Tianhong asked, still not rising, clearly unworried about Zhao Rushan launching a surprise attack. "Actually, in my heart, I also feel inferior to you," Zhao Rushan stated calmly, taking a step forward as he continued, "Now I too follow the path of pursuing the Daoist emperor, which is the legacy left by the Ting master before his departure. He said both you and I are qualified to achieve the Daoist emperor, to lead the Tao court to unprecedented heights. Come back, since Wuxia looks down on you, why endure humiliation here? Do you know, your deeds have spread across the world, and everyone knows the unparalleled pride cultivated by the Tao court kneels in front of Wuxia sect. Do you realize how much criticism the court has faced?" Gradually, Emperor Tianhong opened his eyes, his gaze still full of vitality, unaffected by the passage of time. "I am no longer a disciple of the Tao court. Please return," Emperor Tianhong replied softly. He looked across the river, his gaze shifting left and right, as if searching for something. Zhao Rushan furrowed his brows, his right hand resting on the sword scabbard at his waist. "Junior, this is not a place for you to act recklessly," a clear, cold voice came from ahead, startling Zhao Rushan to look up, only to see two figures walking out from the depths of the forest across the river. It was an Xian and Chen Chuan. Seeing an Xian, Emperor Tianhong's gaze turned somewhat complicated. He couldn't forget that crushing defeat. He still thinks about what exactly those eyes looked like. Chen Chuan followed by Anzin sighed, eyeing Zhao Rushan with curiosity, filled with an unsettling feeling from the sword qi he sensed on Zhao Rushan. Zhao Rushan, looking at an Xian, similarly felt shocked. An Xian gave him an unfathomably profound feeling, particularly when meeting Anzin's gaze, which made him tremble with fear, a feeling he had never experienced, even when facing beings above the Zizai immortal realm. Not to be provoked. This was Zhao Rushan's immediate feeling. May I ask for the senior's name? Zhao Rushan raised his hand in salute, asking courteously. An Xian answered calmly, Wuxia, an Xian, please leave. Zhao Rushan raised an eyebrow. Just as he was about to speak, he suddenly felt a chill climbing up his spine, startling him. After hesitating for a moment, he chose to salute and leave. Although unclear why an Xian held hostility towards him, he also feared dying here. Zhao Rushan's presence quickly faded, while an Xian and Chen Chuan approached the river, facing Emperor Tianhong across the stream. Emperor Tianhong looked at an Xian, still not speaking, his gaze remaining calm. An Xian spoke, he wants to kill you. Is that so? Emperor Tianhong asked in surprise, thinking that Zhao Rushan seemed more like trying to provoke him into returning through reverse psychology. An Xian continued, and he can do it. Upon hearing this, Emperor Tianhong's brows immediately furrowed. He could feel that Zhao Rushan had reached the divine immortal of wondrous Dharma and had caught up with him in cultivation realm, but this was also because he had been kneeling for 20,000 years. Even at the same realm, he didn't believe he would lose to anyone other than an Xian. Chen Chuan was also surprised, not expecting Zhao Rushan to be so formidable. An Xian looked at Chen Chuan and said, You go ahead first. Chen Chuan nodded, then disappeared into thin air from where he stood. Emperor Tianhong wasn't very curious about Chen Chuan. He sensed that an Xian had something to say to him, which made ripples arose in his heart. An Xian stared at Emperor Tianhong and said, That person will be your nemesis. Both of you will become Daoist emperors and will stir a world-shaking conflict in the human world. Didn't you just say he could kill me? If I weren't here, wouldn't I already be dead by his hands? How could I become his nemesis? Emperor Tianhong curiously asked. You will die, but you will rise again in reincarnation and contend with him lifetime after lifetime. An Xian spoke in a very calm tone, as if mentioning a trivial matter, leaving Emperor Tianhong silent. He couldn't help but ask, Can you see my fate? Not me. Anzin's answer caused Emperor Tianhong's expression to change for the first time, stirring his long calm heart. Sword Venerable, an Xian continued, keep kneeling for now. Master can't accept you temporarily, and I don't know the reason, but perhaps this is part of cultivation. Over the years, you should have felt your Dao practice growing. Emperor Tianhong showed a smile. Indeed, although my cultivation level hasn't increased, my understanding of the great Dao is growing rapidly. This must be the blessing of the Sword Venerable. This was also the reason he had been kneeling for more than 20,000 years without feeling tired. He had seen hope, and even if he had to kneel for another 100,000 years, he wouldn't feel it was hard. An Xian stopped talking, flashed beside Emperor Tianhong, and continued walking forward. Emperor Tianhong turned his head towards her and asked, Sister, where are you going? I have my matters to attend to. An Xian casually replied, a slight smile curving upon her lips, feeling that Emperor Tianhong was very perceptive. Emperor Tianhong pressed further, will Zhao Rushan bring good or bad results to the Dao court? Destiny is always changing, knowing the future in advance would only become an obstacle for you. Before the words were even fully said, an Xian had already disappeared into the depths of the forest. Emperor Tianhong turned back, looking at the river surface, deep in thought. Daoist Emperor, huh? He had heard from Yuan Songzi before that the prodigies of the 3,000 great worlds were all chasing after becoming Daoist emperors, but the celestial spirit great world temporarily had no opportunity to achieve that status. Yuan Songzi had told him to prepare well. According to what an Xian revealed about the future, becoming a Daoist emperor seems to be the crux of future world conflicts. This implies Yuan Songzi will succeed. To become a Daoist emperor, it's necessary to open the pathway to the path of the great Tao for the celestial spirit great world. Emperor Tianhong took a deep breath, clearing his distractions. Just how formidable a Daoist emperor is, he wasn't sure, but the path of power he was currently comprehending was truly strong. Even though his cultivation level had not increased, he could feel his mana undergoing transformation, becoming several times stronger compared to before he knelt. Would such a him also be killed by Zhao Rushan? Emperor Tianhong noted Zhao Rushan's name, looking forward to their future confrontation. Sir, the novel Fire. Net website on Google to access chapters of novels early and in the highest quality. If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know to report so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 644, Bizarre Invasion for Zhao Rushan. Seeking an audience with Emperor Tianhong is a trivial matter. Ever since Zhao Rushan's descent into the world, Emperor Tianhong's destiny has changed. Although Emperor Tianhong will ultimately defeat Zhao Rushan, he will face numerous hardships and will need many lifetimes to accomplish this victory. Sitting by the lake, playing his zither, Gu An's thoughts drifted with the cause and effect tied to Zhao Rushan. Zhao Rushan is not the reincarnation of an immortal god, but his destiny pattern is extremely strong. He is destined to reach the pinnacle of the celestial spirit great world and even bring catastrophe upon heaven and earth. By defeating him, Emperor Tianhong will also ascend to immortality. It is unclear whether Zhao Rushan is a product of heaven and earth or a scheme by the immortal gods. If it's the latter, it should have nothing to do with Tai immortal monarch. Guan is unable to see through the celestial Dao destiny linked to Tai immortal monarch, but he can sense its existence. Perhaps there are other immortal gods eyeing the celestial spirit great world, fortunate that they do not plan to descend in person. While playing the zither, Guan focused his attention on Shaolan. The Dao court, with its disciples, has been on the path of the great Dao for 10,000 years. This journey, fraught with countless hardships, has reduced their number to less than a third of the original. If not for Gu An's repeated interventions, they would have perished within the first 100 years of setting foot on the path of the great Dao. The path of the great Dao has no absolute order, only chaos and slaughter. There, no one speaks of righteousness, for every being on this path is here for the sake of an era. Under the guidance of Yuan Songzi, Shaolan has embarked on the path to chase after the title of Daoist Emperor. To become a Daoist Emperor, one must not only comprehend the Dao rules but also defeat peers and higher-level adversaries on the path of the great Dao, constantly seizing destiny to strengthen oneself. Each Daoist Emperor has reached the summit through a series of life-and-death battles, and this is why Daoist Emperors can sweep through all beings at every realm level. With her innate talents, combined with being enveloped in Gu An's Dao intent over the years, Shaolan is very familiar with the Dao rules. The clueless Yuan Songzi even thinks that Shaolan possesses a Dao comprehension stronger than that of Emperor Tianhong and Zhao Rushan. Therefore, he has made a last-minute decision to exhaust all efforts to help Shaolan become the first Daoist Emperor of the Dao court. Cth Nefire. Et website on Google to access chapters of novels early and in the highest quality. As a Daoist emperor, Shaolan will inevitably be involved in the struggle between Zhao Rushan and Emperor Tianhong. Yet, because she is on the path of the great Dao, her influence does not reach the celestial spirit great world for the time being, thus the fate of that world remains unchanged. The path of obsession, the great Dao of thoughts. Guan murmured to himself, feeling surprised. Initially, he thought that Shaolan, who cultivated the innate reincarnation skill, would follow the path of reincarnation or the path of soul, or even the path of cause and effect, as he often used it to guide her cultivation. It seems no matter which path one followed before, once one aspires to compete for the title of Daoist emperor, the great Tao itself will guide the cultivator to the most suitable path for immortal cultivation. Guan began to truly look forward to Xiaolan's future. Previously, Xiaolan had a smooth journey thanks to his support, and her future was all within his sight. But now, Xiaolan has boundless possibilities, even the potential to surpass his control. For those close to him, Guan naturally hopes they will get better and better. If they can live their own brilliance, that would be even more ideal. With these thoughts, Guan's mood became even more brisk, and the music he played turned more ethereal, like the high mountains and flowing rivers before him, bringing peace to one's heart. Guan learned to play the zither from Shenzhen, not that he had high hopes. In the long years, he always tried different things when bored. The sound of the zither was melodious, echoing through the mountains, as the breeze blew, day turned to night, and the constellations shifted. Another 5,000 years passed by. In these 5,000 years, aside from Chen Chuan, and Sheng Tian, and Lv Xian, also left the dojo to make their own way in the world. Chen Chuan founded the sword sect, and its momentum was fierce. And Sheng Tian went back to support the Yin family. Although his destiny with the Yin family had been severed, he chose a disciple from the family to instruct. Lv Xian wandered the world, challenging the unparalleled geniuses of various sections. As long as his opponent was not beyond his great realm, he would not use Dao treasures, relying on his true abilities to continuously defeat formidable talents. His fame grew rapidly, and 5,000 years later, he was already among the top talents in the world. However, in the world today, the one with the most fame was still Zhao Rushan, who had mastered the Dao Court's supreme divine skill for combat, with inscrutable techniques. In this new year, Emperor Tianhong was still kneeling in the forest at the edge of Wuxia. Guan went early in the morning to pick mature medicinal herbs, and continued until evening, when he arrived at an island belonging to the Gathering Flower sect. Jianghu had prepared wine and dishes in advance, waiting for his arrival. Jianghu was now a carefree primordial immortal, and although not as formidable as a Wuxia disciple, she did not stay by Guan's side all year round. Her cultivation level was already the strongest in this sea area. Not only the strongest, but she was also seen as a legend in the hearts of many disciples of the Gathering Flower sect, with rumors of her true capabilities. Although Jianghu was not the sect master, she still strategized and made important decisions for the Gathering Flower sect from behind the scenes. Recently Lv Xian's fame has grown quite large, spreading across the 72 seas. Even our sect's disciples are discussing what kind of a sect Wuxia really is. In the pavilion halfway up the mountain, Jianghu poured wine for Guan while saying with a laugh. Beside them was a waterfall, the falling water striking the cliff and raising a misty spray, paired with the lush green flora, creating beauty and a sense of atmosphere. Guan laughed and said, "Wuxia is not any sect, and I don't usually manage them that much." Jianghu continued to serve dishes to Guan and curiously asked, "You've been in this world for 130,000 years. What exactly are you pursuing, or to be more precise, who are you avoiding?" Like others, Jianghu also felt that Guan had the capability to turn the world upside down before he even met her. She believed he was just putting on a show. What she did not know was that Guan was actually younger than she was. Guan did not specifically clarify this, as admitting the truth would hardly be believed by anyone, and may even plant the seeds of potential trouble. Pursuing? I am hoping for my current lifestyle to continue for a very long time, until I become tired of it. Guan said earnestly, then emptied the cup of wine in one gulp. Really? Jianghu looked at Guan, as if she was trying to see through him. Guan raised his hand, took out a scroll, and handed it to Jianghu, saying, "This is a formation I created. Study it well, and if you can master it, it could protect the Gathering Flower sect for 1,000,000 years without worries." That powerful? Jianghu was pleasantly surprised. She was very interested in formations, as could be seen from the incident at 8 Scenic Cave Heaven. She directly used her divine sense to probe the scroll. Meanwhile, Guan started to talk about the interesting things he had heard recently. Initially, she was just humoring him, but later on, she was completely engrossed in the content of the scroll. Guan simply shook his head with a wry smile, not too concerned. He looked up at the celestial vault, his gaze turning profound. Recently, a strange power was approaching the celestial spirit great world, which might bring disaster. Following this strange power in his deductions, he discovered that many great thousand worlds had already been contaminated by it, and these worlds had plunged into chaos as a result. Those tinged with this power would become violent and bloodthirsty. If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know to report so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 645, Gu Ans Reincarnation. Such a bizarre force sweeping across the vast great thousand world, the celestial court should notice it, right? Guan thought silently, although he didn't know exactly where the celestial court was. As he came into contact with more immortal gods, he always felt that immortal gods were omnipresent, and the power of the celestial court was even more domineering, disregarding the wishes of all beings. As for the mysterious, strange force, Guan didn't pay much attention to it. Even if it spread to the celestial spirit great world, it was just another phase of cultivation for all beings, as long as it didn't endanger him. After a long while, when the food had all gone cold, Jianghu's attention finally shifted away from the array scroll. She looked at Guan and exclaimed, "Is this really an array that humans can create? It's too vast and intricate, and from the described effects, it seems as terrifying as the rules of heaven and earth." She felt if this array were to be leaked, it would certainly cause a bloodbath, and if someone else had given it to her, she would not dare accept it. "It would take many years to master, you should study it on your own first," Guan said softly with a chuckle. What he provided was not just the array itself, the Daoist techniques contained within were enough for Jianghu to comprehend for 1,000,000 years. Jianghu nodded. She stored the scroll in her storage ring, looking at Guan with eyes full of amazement and deep affection. She sighed, "The things you've given me are becoming harder and harder to repay, to be honest, it's pretty stressful." "Then return it to me?" Guan asked with annoyance. Didn't he know Jianghu well? This woman just wanted to tease him on the pretext. Jianghu laughed playfully, "That won't do, it's already been given." Then she changed the subject and began to talk about the happenings within the Gathering Flower sect. As the person of the highest seniority within the sect, she naturally spoke from the perspective of an elder, leaving Guan feeling like they were chatting about family matters. Guan didn't find it boring, on the contrary, he was very interested, occasionally asking questions. Half an hour later. "By the way, do you still remember Lu Lingjun? She stayed in your third medicine valley once. She's an ascender. The Ascension sect she established is doing quite well, having already gained a foothold." When Jianghu brought up Lu Lingjun, her tone became cheerful. At the same time, she was observing Gu An's expression. She remembered, an Xin had mentioned a long time ago that Lu Lingjun wanted to take Guan as her Dao companion. Ever since Gu An's true identity was revealed, Lu Lingjun seemed to have lost contact with Guan, not because he didn't want to see her, but because she didn't dare to see him. Over the years, Jianghu had also dealt with Lu Lingjun, and she felt that there was an inherent pride in her. It seemed this woman couldn't accept that Guan was such a strong being. However, Jianghu suspected that the fact that Lu Lingjun was still alive today, and the Ascension sect had developed so well, was due to Gu An's covert assistance. After she finished talking about Lu Lingjun's situation, she still couldn't see any sign from Gu An's face. Guan seemed completely indifferent to Lu Lingjun. Guan showed a smile and said, "Indeed, talking to you is quite interesting. These things I couldn't see within the beginningless." Seeing that he was uninterested in Lu Lingjun, Jianghu couldn't help but ask, "Do you always cultivate? Don't you get bored?" She could never understand why Guan had left the Supreme Sect. If he disliked the Supreme Sect, he could switch to another sect or city to stay. Why hide in a deserted mountain? She could only think that it was for the sake of cultivation. My life is far more interesting than you think, Guan said proudly. Jiang Qiong raised her eyebrows, skeptical. Guan laughed and said, for me, the past 130,000 years have been much slower than the time you have experienced. Take the past 100 years for example. I served as a guard for an emperor in the human world for 60 years, aiding 4 emperors. He was telling the truth. In the recent 10,000 years, he liked to experience various identities in the mortal world. Except for when gathering medicinal herbs, he always used his original body to experience them, and in each identity, he never used his mana. He too would get injured and grow old. Isn't this another form of reincarnation? Jiang Qiong never expected Guan would do such a thing. She found it both absurd and somewhat interesting to think that a powerful being who could overturn the entire great world was scrambling for power and profit with mortals in the mortal world. Maybe she should try it too. After all, she no longer had to personally oversee the Gathering Flower sect. What followed was Guan speaking, with Jiang Qiong listening. The more stories she heard, the more she felt that what Guan was doing was not out of boredom, but a form of cultivation. The sun was shining brightly, the sky clear and cloudless. Above the mountains, numerous cultivators were flying on their swords, as fast as the wind. Their gathering created a tremendous force that shook the mountains and forests violently. In the midst of the crowd, 2 young men flew side by side on their swords. One of them, a youth in black, turned to his companion and excitedly asked, Long Lin, what kind of demon do you think we'll encounter this time? The youth known as Long Lin was dressed in a tight blue garment, looking even more handsome and extraordinary in demeanor than the youth in black. Long Lin looked ahead, a smile on his face as he said, I heard it's a great demon that has lived for 10,000 years. Otherwise, the sect wouldn't send out so many disciples. A great demon that has lived for 10,000 years? How terrifying could that be? The youth in black suddenly grew worried. Long Lin glanced at him and chuckled, Yang Nian, if you're scared, it's not too late to go back now. Upon hearing this, the youth named Yang Nian's eyes widened immediately, and he said, how could I possibly be scared? I'm just worried about the other disciples. If our Changyang sect loses this battle, the consequences are unimaginable. Long Lin gazed forward, smiling without saying a word. It wasn't just them, the other disciples of Changyang sect around them were also discussing the upcoming battle. The Changyang sect had been established for thousands of years and was considered a hegemon on the continent, but they had never contended with a 10,000-year-old demon before. By the way, Long Lin, I heard from an elder brother that your clan has found you? Is that true? Yang Nian asked curiously. He and Long Lin had both been orphaned since they were young, raised by an old man in the mountains. By a stroke of fortune, they joined the Changyang sect, and Long Lin was found to have an excellent spirit root. Yang Nian owed his present status to Long Lin's support. He never expected that Long Lin wasn't an orphan and that his clan was looking for him. He felt envious but also happy for Long Lin. Yeah, they told me that my parents didn't abandon me, but rather they perished while on a mission and had to leave me somewhere. The jade pendant my parents left me is actually a high-tier spiritual artifact, and that's also how my clan found me. They want me to return, and I am still considering it, Long Lin replied calmly. Yang Nian continued to probe, is your family powerful? How does it compare with Changyang sect? They should be powerful. They have already persuaded the higher-ups of the sect, and it seems the higher-ups have gained significant benefits and are strongly urging me to return, Long Lin said. Yang Nian felt even more envious at the response. Why didn't he have such a background? Before their cultivation, it was he who protected Long Lin, but ever since they began to cultivate, the roles reversed, and now it was Long Lin taking care of him. Yang Nian was grateful to Long Lin but also couldn't help feeling a surging envy in his heart. He felt that the heavens favored Long Lin, always letting him encounter good luck, whereas he was left without support. Even with Long Lin's help, trouble always seemed to find him. Sar the Oval Fire. Et website on Google to access chapters of novels early and in the highest quality. If that's the case, what's there to consider? Yang Nian tried to restrain his jealousy and forced a smile as he asked. Let's better think about how we're going to fight next, Long Lin said, dodging the question. He hesitated because the Long family does not accept outsiders. Over the years, he could sense the changes in Yang Nian's attitude and didn't want to provoke him with this matter. But still, just thinking about the words of that family member, a look of longing couldn't help but appear in Long Lin's eyes. It is said that there are immortals in the Long family, beings who exist beyond the Mahayana realm, transcendental in existence. If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know to report so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 646, Old acquaintances meet. The mountains overlapped, and the land seemed like dragon ridges pressed together. On one such ridge, Guan stood in front of a cliff, while an Xian was meditating and cultivating nearby. Has it already begun? Guan looked into the distance, thinking this way. It had been 7,000 years since he had given the array scroll to Jianghu. 7,000 years had passed, and that mysterious and eerie force had finally seeped into the Great Thousand World. Its method of infiltration was not through a world gate but directly into the Tao rules of the Great Thousand World. This was an unstoppable invasion method, as its infiltration trajectory couldn't be fully tracked, at least not by the celestial spirit god. On the continent where Guan was, he saw a bloodline member of the Long family. This youth was named Long Lin, whose best friend was invaded by the eerie force, and he would become increasingly jealous and violent in the future, causing many troubles in Long Lin's life. Guan, however, had no intention of intervening. Long Lin was too distant in relation, equivalent to a stranger. If he were to protect every descendant of the Long family, it would be too exhausting, as the bloodline had already surpassed 1 billion in number, though most had changed names. Although the youth named Yang Nian might take a wrong path, he wouldn't pose a threat to Long Lin's life. Even without the invasion of the eerie force, it was not uncommon in the human world for brothers and best friends to destroy each other out of jealousy. Master, another calamity befalls the human world? Anzin's voice rang out, and Guan turned his head, seeing her opening her eyes with tightly furrowed brows. Guan inquired, what did you see? Ia the Novel Fire. Net website on Google to access chapters of novels early and in the highest quality. My immortal emperor's eye senses a disturbingly evil force, and my future self also informed me that the human world would face unprecedented tribulation soon, and this disaster will also cover other Great Thousand Worlds. An Xian spoke worriedly. Although her future self was manifested through karmic evolution and might not prove true, it still hinted at major trends in the future. Guan nodded slightly, quite satisfied with Anzin's cultivation results. Anzin's immortal emperor's eye not only could devour power to transform it into her own but also borrow strength from her past and future selves. This was somewhat similar to the celestial dragon reincarnation dharma aspect. However, the future self she summoned was formed from karma. Once the future self appeared, its associated future would vanish, making the karmic ties here complex, but through summoning her future self, she could gain predictions on the future trends of the cosmos. In addition, the immortal emperor's eye inherently possessed a powerful suppressive force. At the scene, when she sparred with Tian Hao, she pulled Tian Hao into an illusion realm, forcefully crushing his Tao heart. In the immortal emperor's eye's illusion realm, Tian Hao's senses were misled, perceiving everything encountered inside as real occurrences. The immortal emperor's eye contained immense power, which would aid an Xian to grow stronger. Even if an Xian did not become a Daoist emperor, with the immortal emperor's eye, she could still contend with a Daoist emperor. Indeed, the forthcoming calamities will indeed arrive at the various Great Thousand Worlds. However, the scope of this disaster is boundless and will surely attract stronger beings for suppression, so you needn't worry too much, Guan responded. Thinking about the Daoist emperor, his thoughts couldn't help but drift to the path of the great Tao. More of his old friends began to pursue the Daoist emperor. Ji Xiaoyu, Zhang Buku, Tian Hao, Zhu Shi, the path of the Great Tao was far broader than the Great Thousand World, with countless cultivators striving within. Meeting these few would not be easy. However, Ji Xiaoyu did meet Shaolan, all thanks to Yuan Songzi's efforts. Yuan Songzi aimed to unite the strengths of the celestial spirit great world, lending mutual assistance. Guan watched over Ji Xiaoyu and Shaolan while guiding an Xian in comprehending the Tao better. Whether Anzin's attention was diverted or not was unclear, but she soon became absorbed in enlightenment, forgetting the outside world. In the dim cosmic void, an desolate meteor quietly hovered, with a monastery perched upon its surface. In a hall, cultivators of the Tao court were meditating before a gigantic Buddha statue. Shaolan gazed at the statue, lost in thought. This Buddha is from Ling Mountain. The owner of this monastery was once a devotee of Ling Mountain. In the heart of a Buddhist cultivator, Ling Mountain is the supreme holy land. A voice came, interrupting Shaolan's thoughts. Shaolan turned her head, quickly getting up to salute. The meticulously dressed and regal Ji Xiaoyu approached her. Now, Ji Xiaoyu mostly walked in the identity of the reincarnation Tao Emperor. Her cultivation level might not match Yuan Songzi, but Yuan Songzi treated her with respect, addressing her as fellow Daoist, which garnered significant respect from the Tao court's talents for her. Senior, is Ling Mountain truly formidable? Where is it? Shaolan asked curiously. Ever since meeting the reincarnation Tao Emperor, the reincarnation Tao Emperor had always clarified her doubts, treating her with much kindness, fostering strong goodwill in her towards the reincarnation Tao Emperor. Ji Xiaoyu turned her gaze back to the great Buddha statue, saying, Ling Mountain is elusive, I've only heard about it, but what can be confirmed is Ling Mountain stands above the Great Thousand World, and the capabilities of Ling Mountain's various Buddhas are beyond our imagination. Indeed, Ling Mountain is formidable. In the Great Thousand World where I originated, there once appeared a disciple from Ling Mountain's Buddhist sect, who single-handedly saved countless beings and suppressed the outer heaven evil demon. Even after his departure, many legends about him persisted in the human world. Yuan Songzi walked over, stroking his beard with a smile, his gaze towards the great Buddha statue filled with nostalgia. Shaolan was filled with yearning. This monastery, though ownerless, could provide them shelter, and it was built by a mere believer of Ling Mountain. How mighty must the Buddhas of Ling Mountain be? For years on the path of the Great Tao, Shaolan's horizons had vastly widened. Yet, wonders she heard continued to leave her in awe. Yuan Songzi turned to Ji Xiaoyu, asking, Have you chosen the next opponent? The forces on the path of the Great Tao were more numerous than the stars of the Great Thousand World. Many forces, like the Tao court, came to create a Daoist emperor, so they would establish contacts, setting a time and place for combat resourced by each one's capabilities without forming enmity among the forces. Both Ji Xiaoyu and Shaolan were competing to become a Daoist emperor, but Ji Xiaoyu had a higher cultivation level, so she led the way, with the Tao court currently supporting her, enabling Shaolan to gain experience more easily. Yes, a prodigy from Xianxia Great World whose cultivation level is very similar to mine, Ji Xiaoyu answered, her tone calm. Yuan Songzi was about to continue questioning when suddenly the entire hall began to tremble. An overwhelming pressure emanated from outside the monastery, startling the meditating cultivators from the Tao court, causing them to stand up, ready themselves tensely. Yuan Songzi frowned, projecting his divine sense towards the Tao void. He saw two figures battling deep in the void, colliding like two brilliant suns, causing the Tao rules to tremble, and the immense pressure made the meteor they sat upon tremble incessantly. Is that? It seemed Yuan Songzi recognized one of them, his expression turning exceptionally grim. The Tao court cultivators became even more tense. When Yuan Songzi initially confronted immortal gods, he never showed such an expression. Could there be a presence outside more terrifying than the immortal gods? If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know to report so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 647, 5 trillion years lifespan. Do you know who is fighting outside, senior? Ji Xiaoyu noticed Yuan Songzi's expression and couldn't help but ask. She appeared calm, but inside she felt terrified. Just feeling the momentum of the battle from afar gave her a dreadful sense of being turned to dust. On the path of the great Tao, daring to fight so recklessly, these are indeed conceited individuals, for the path harbors many dangers, and making too much noise only invites trouble. Her cooperation with the Tao court was precisely to have them help set up a barrier to prevent the aura of her battles with other Tianjiao from leaking. Yuan Songzi took a deep breath and said, "One of them comes from ascending to yellow heaven, named Zhou Jie. This person has killed countless people and proves the Tao with killing intent. If he detects our aura, we will all die." Upon hearing this, everyone was alarmed, even Xiaolan couldn't remain calm. Ji Xiaoyu frowned. She knew of ascending to yellow heaven, a terrifying Daoist lineage, even involving reincarnation. However, Zhou Jie's opponent is also very strong. Perhaps they will leave soon, so there's no need to panic. After all, the formation in this monastery is quite exquisite, Yuan Songzi continued, his words slightly easing the tension among the crowd, though no one dared to let their guard down. Xiaolan looked at everyone, feeling deeply moved. These seniors hold high positions in the celestial spirit great world, essentially wielding the power of life and death over all beings. Yet on the path of the great Tao, they are as insignificant as dust, being extremely cautious and careful. Everyone held their breath, not daring to speak, fearing even a sound might disturb the terrifying presence outside. However, the oppressive force of the battle drew closer, as if the fighting parties were approaching, and even Yuan Songzi began to sweat on his forehead. Suddenly, the oppressive force rushed into the distance and disappeared in an instant, making everyone even more tense. For a long time. Only after more than half an hour did everyone finally relax, believing the opponents had left. They gathered around Yuan Songzi, inquiring about the origins of ascending to yellow heaven. Ji Xiaoyu looked at Xiaolan, her eyes complex, unsure of her thoughts. Time flies, and the years go by swiftly. As strange forces invaded the celestial spirit great world, more and more beings became violent, leading to increasing conflicts in the human world. This did not affect Gu An's life. He continued to enjoy his leisurely years, only occasionally diverting his focus to watch over old friends, including those on the path of the great Tao. If they faced danger, he would help protect them, but he made it seem like their own luck. Years passed quickly. After 10,000 years, the human world completely shed its cloak of peace, with conflicts arising everywhere. Even the Jianghu sect went to war with surrounding forces. The boundless celestial vault began to show lingering clouds. Guan still did not intervene to change anything. Another 10,000 years passed. That late summer, just past noon, Guan walked through the woods, pulling up his attribute panel for a check. Name, Guan, lifespan, 161, 845/5, 048, 752, 108, 241, physique, primordial reincarnation undying body, cultivation level, Miaozhen Daluo immortal realm perfection, 5 trillion years of life expectancy. He hesitated whether to break through. The last breakthrough cost 1.8 trillion years of life. He feared 5 trillion wouldn't suffice for the perfection realm of the next great realm. Guan pondered, pacing leisurely through the woods, with the breeze gently stirring his robes. Looking up, the celestial vault between the leaves appeared dim, more like dusk than noon. After a while, Guan stopped walking. He stood by a small river, with a figure kneeling across it. It was Emperor Tianhong. Emperor Tianhong had been kneeling here for over 50,000 years, yet he seemed without the slightest sign of decline, his long beard touching the ground, face clear. Were it not for his knees sunk deep in the soil, one might not believe he had knelt so long. Though he engaged in no qi absorption cultivation, his cultivation level broke through to the Tao void profound immortal realm, purely through enlightenment. Notably, His breakthrough involved no crossing the tribulation nor the slightest disturbance. After all these years of kneeling, what is your greatest realization? Gu An's voice reached Emperor Tianhong's ear, making him open his eyes suddenly. Upon seeing Guan, he was lost in a daze. Though he had never met Guan before, for some reason, seeing Guan for the first time, he felt the other was the supporting Dao sword venerable. To him, Gu An's appearance seemed perfect, and though Gu An's aura was not overpowering, it gave a sense of all-embracing magnanimity. Emperor Tianhong once believed his Dao heart was tempered through countless trials, immune to strong emotions, yet he couldn't suppress the surge of excitement from his heart at this moment. Trembling all over, he couldn't articulate his complex emotions. Seeing Emperor Tianhong so overwhelmed, Guan smiled gently, his smile like a spring breeze blowing into Emperor Tianhong's heart, dissolving his tension and excitement. Emperor Tianhong took a deep breath, trying to calm himself, and cautiously said, "My greatest realization is that the strongest Daoist technique is not found in sects but pervades the world, everywhere in nature. Perhaps Wuxi's name is meant to guide all beings." Upon finishing, Emperor Tianhong's heart was in his throat, afraid had offended the supporting Dao sword venerable. The longer head knelt, the more he revered Guan, sensing it was Guan guiding him to enlightenment. Guan chuckled, "Perhaps so, everyone has their own understanding. Do you wish to take me as your master?" Emperor Tianhong's eyes widened with excitement. "Sword venerable, I do. I very much want to. Will you accept me?" Guan raised his right hand, and a sword flew from his palm, swiftly enlarging, its point facing upward, hovering before him. The sword was exquisite, radiating a faint silver glow, with what seemed like stars adorning it. "This is the Dao treasure of Wuxia, named the Longevity Sword. You may use it to save this human world. When you become a savior, return the sword, and then decide whether you wish to be my disciple." As Guan introduced the sword, the Longevity Sword flew to Emperor Tianhong. Emperor Tianhong could feel the vast Dao intent within the sword, yet he wasn't captivated, instead directing his attention to Guan, urgently saying, "I can decide now, willing to be your disciple." Guan replied meaningfully, "When you have the highest fame and power, and discern your own destiny pattern, then make your decision. There's no rush, if you are willing by then, I will accept you." Hearing this, Emperor Tianhong calmed down. "Now go." Guan continued, upon which Emperor Tianhong stood up, clutching the Longevity Sword. In an instant, a vast memory surged into his mind, leaving him stunned. Sar the novel Fire. Net ** website on Google to access chapters of novels early and in the highest quality. Seeing this, Guan crossed the small river, passing by him. Go for the breakthrough after all. With his back to Emperor Tianhong, Guan thought silently. He followed his thoughts with anticipation. What lies beyond the Miaozhen Daluo immortal realm? If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know to report so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 648, Endless Dao Mountain. After parting with Emperor Tianhong, Guan took a trip to the Taitsang continent, picking medicinal herbs at the mountain god temple, then went alone into the uninhabited mountains and forests, far away from the mundane world. He sat under a tree and activated the lifespan breakthrough. You have activated the lifespan breakthrough function. Based on your current realm, the following breakthrough locations have been selected for you. 1. Path of the Great Tao, 2. War Spirit Holy Mansion, 3. Taiwei Earth Core, 4. Ling Mountain, 5. River of Destiny, 6. Endless Dao Mountain, Sarch * the novel Fire. Net * website on Google to access chapters of novels early and in the highest quality. 7. Primordial Emperor Domain, 8. Profound Abyss Divine Pool, 9. Supreme Origin Forest. Looking at the options in front of him, Guan frowned slightly. He didn't see the desperate celestial tomb. He was still planning to find a way to rescue the sins within the desperate celestial tomb after breaking through.
In his view, when he breaks through again, he should have the strength to see through the desperate celestial tomb. Don't mention Miaozhen Daluo Immortal, even ordinary heaven-opening Daluo Immortals are rarely seen. Breaking through to a higher realm, even if he's not the strongest, he should be among the stronger existences within the great Tao. After saving the sins, he could further investigate Fairy Yao Xian's causality through them, thereby resolving the obsessions left by the Emperor of Eternal Life. These matters, to Guan, didn't feel troublesome, but rather filled him with anticipation. In becoming stronger through cultivation, one must have opportunities to demonstrate. Could it be because the desperate celestial tomb cannot withstand my breakthrough, and these places can, that the celestial tomb did not appear? Guan suddenly had a speculation. If so, could it be inferred that these 9 places possess power beyond the Miaozhen Daluo Immortal? Even if they don't, these places can still nurture stronger Daluo Immortals, something beyond the capability of the celestial spirit great world. Don't mention Daluo Immortals, the celestial spirit great world can't even nurture golden immortals. Guan silently pondered, and after some thought, he chose Endless Tao Mountain. The name alone sounded profound and elusive, and it provided better concealment. To be teleported to Endless Tao Mountain will consume 10 billion years of lifespan. Do you wish to continue? Continue. An unfamiliar sensation surged forth, causing him to instinctively close his eyes, and his senses followed suit, losing function. After a while, he felt his feet touch the ground, and he immediately opened his eyes, almost instantly activating the lifespan barrier. After setting up the lifespan barrier, he had time to observe the environment. As far as the eye could see, the celestial vault was dim as the void of the universe, with towering mountains standing on the earth, rising and falling, their ends unseen, and the number of peaks uncountable. Even at his Miaozhen Daluo Immortal Realm perfection state, Guan could not see the boundaries of this world. Is this another place in an infinitely expanding universe and earth? He observed that every mountain around him contained an immense Tao intent, as if nurturing a great Tao. The oppressive atmosphere of the world made the Endless Tao Mountain appear like majestic deities in the darkness, exuding a sense of vastness and magnitude. The mountain under Guan's feet was extraordinarily huge, even standing on the summit felt like standing on a vast continent. Its height exceeded the distance from the 9 spirit continents ground to outer heaven. The mountain he stood upon wasn't even the highest Tao mountain, in the distance stood towering mountains like heavenly barriers, imposing to the extreme. Endless Tao Mountain, I wonder how far it is from the Great Thousand World, thought Guan curiously, as he had never heard of the Endless Tao Mountain before. The more mysterious and powerful places there were, the happier Guan felt. If the end of the Great Tao were so easy to reach, the joy of cultivation would diminish significantly. Guan sat down cross-legged and then called up the attribute panel. First, he worked to enhance his physique, as it had been a while since he made any improvements. Guan invested 100 billion years of lifespan directly, but the primordial reincarnation undying body did not transform. He continued investing. Ultimately, after spending a total of 400 billion years of lifespan, the primordial reincarnation undying body ascended to the primordial Tao creation body. Vast amounts of Tao's spiritual qi gathered, causing the ground beneath Guan's feet to light up with Tao light, confined within the barrier, while the mountain's surface outside the barrier exhibited no changes for the time being. Soon, Guan became engrossed in the inheritance. The primordial Tao creation body retained the features of the previous physique, undying through reincarnation, ferocious mana, and the capability to create new great Tao. Indeed, great Tao independent of the 3,000 great Tao. It's based on personal mana and physical strength. Just like before, no matter how mighty the transformation, Guan completed the transformation in less than an hour. He opened his eyes, a glint of light flashing within them. Create a Tao? He suddenly thought, with countless great Tao, even he couldn't ascertain the exact number. Could some great Tao have been created by cultivators? This hypothesis could not be answered for the time being, so he turned his gaze to the cultivation techniques in the attribute panel. Next was the enhancement of the main cultivation technique. Guan invested 100 billion years of lifespan into the Daoist dominator skill. Finally, after expending nearly 350 billion years of lifespan, he upgraded the Daoist dominator skill to the Myriad Dao extinction skill. The Myriad Dao extinction skill shifted from the previous vastness to one filled with slaughter traits, with domination leading to extinction, leaving not a trace, ultimately leaving only oneself, surpassing the great Dao. An hour later, Guan continued upgrading. Sun and Moon Selfless Divine Dao ascended to Dao Qi Eternal Divine Sense, consuming nearly 300 billion years of lifespan. This was Gu An's main reliance for hiding cultivation level and aura. He wouldn't neglect it. The upgrades continued. Daola Celestial Net Step ascended to Great Primordial Celestial Net Step, consuming nearly 400 billion years of lifespan. Hongmeng Void Golden Body ascended to Great Dao Formless Body, consuming 300 billion years of lifespan. This secret skill evolved from the Demon Shadow Divine Skill, capable of transformation and isolating causality and fate deductions, greatly aiding Guan in remaining concealed. Another hour passed. Guan mastered the Great Dao Formless Body. Even without activating this secret skill, his physical body possessed the capability to avoid being deduced, and this body could also elevate his aura and suppression, serving as a suppressive divine skill. Having completed the conventional enhancements, he had to consider battle methods next. According to past conventions, Guan should improve his sword Dao, but now he wanted to enhance the Immortal Emperor's Eye. The Immortal Emperor's Eye was too powerful for him to give up, but it would provoke the Celestial Court's suspicion. He must upgrade the Immortal Emperor's Eye to a stronger stage to avoid their detection. While Guan contemplated, changes emerged in the tumultuous Endless Dao Mountain. Due to Gu An's continuous upgrades of Daoist techniques, the Dao rules in the heavens and earth began having strange alterations, causing gales to roar, lightning to flash, thunder to rumble, and some Dao mountains to faintly tremble. Before, there had been no sign of any living being. But now, they appeared. Guan looked in a direction, spotting a massive black silhouette on the summit of a majestic Dao mountain far away. The figure was humanoid, standing atop the peak, mysterious to the extreme, akin to an ancient demon god. He couldn't use lifespan detection on it, indicating the other party had not revealed their true self. Even so, the other party's aura sent chills through his heart. Miao Zhen Daluo Immortal. And not at the early stage. Guan merely glanced over and paid no mind. With the lifespan barrier in place, it would be difficult for the other party to discover him. He began to invest lifespan into the Immortal Emperor's Eye. Right from the start, it was 100 billion years of lifespan. If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know to report so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 649, Breakthrough to Dao Extreme Daluo Immortal. You invested 10 billion years of lifespan into cultivating the Immortal Emperor's Eye, you have spent 1 billion years cultivating the Immortal Emperor's Eye, and your understanding of the great Dao of cause and effect has improved. You have spent 10 billion years cultivating the Immortal Emperor's Eye, and your understanding of the great Dao of illusion and reality has improved. You have spent 50 billion years cultivating the Immortal Emperor's Eye, and the power of your Immortal Emperor's Eye has grown stronger. Notifications flashed before Gu An's eyes, but a full 10 billion years of lifespan was not enough to transform the Immortal Emperor's Eye. Guan was not surprised. After all, this was a formidable divine skill feared by the Celestial Court. He continued to invest lifespan, still in increments of 10 billion years. Failure. Another 10 billion years. Guan had over 400 billion years of lifespan remaining, so 10 billion years was nothing to him. Continuous failures, continuous investment. When the invested lifespan exceeded 1,000 billion years, a subtle change appeared in Gu An's eyes. It wasn't until the Immortal Emperor's Eye advanced that he finally breathed a sigh of relief. A total of 1,800 billion years of lifespan was consumed, and the Immortal Emperor's Eye advanced to become the Absolute Void Eye.
An endless stream of memories poured into Gu An's mind, causing him to close his eyes and immerse himself in them, as if the vast information of the 3,000 great Tao rushed into his mind, plunging even someone with a perfection in the Miaozhen Daluo immortal realm into chaos. The absolute void I not only can manipulate reality and illusion but can also create them, an almost omnipotent I whose creations vanish when the user's mana is exhausted. In battle, it can turn an opponent's divine skills, spells, and even mana into nothingness. This is not only suppression against the weak, but even against those with higher cultivation levels, it exerts a certain degree of suppression. The great Tao phenomena caused by the absolute void I far exceed those from before, with the endless Tao mountain still ravaged by fierce winds, and silhouettes appearing consecutively on the distant Tao mountain. Even a figure shrouded in grey mist appeared atop a nearby Tao mountain, not revealing their true form. This grey mist figure looked up at the dark celestial vault, seemingly searching for the source of the phenomenon, unaware that the source was right beside him on the neighboring Tao mountain. The two Tao mountains were connected, but the distance between their peaks spanned tens of millions of miles, a distance insurmountable in a lifetime for mortals, but merely a step away for the grey mist figure. Time passed quickly. An hour later. Guan opened his eyes, his purple pupils transformed into gold and red, enhancing his oppressive presence. His absolute void I focused first on the grey mist figure atop the distant mountain peak. Even at such close range, Guan could not perform lifespan detection on him, as if some force protected the cultivators in this world. However, even without lifespan detection, Guan could perceive the other's cultivation level. Late stage of celestial creation Daluo immortal realm. A heaven-opening Daluo immortal can cultivate in the endless Tao mountain, prompting Guan to suddenly harbor thoughts. After the breakthrough, should I stay here and observe for a while? First, accomplish the breakthrough and see how strong he becomes. Guan reopened his attribute panel. Aside from the consumption in lifespan evolution, the lifespan barrier had also been continuously consuming lifespan, leaving him with more than 450 billion years of lifespan. He began investing lifespan into his cultivation level. You cultivate the qi absorption for 2 billion years, and use the great achievement of the myriad Dao extinction skill to forcefully impact the Dao extreme Daluo immortal realm, beginning to cross the tribulation, but fail to survive the infinite celestial void great tribulation, resulting in attribution. You cultivate the qi absorption for 4 billion years, and use the great achievement of the myriad Dao extinction skill to forcefully impact the Dao extreme Daluo immortal realm, beginning to cross the tribulation, but fail to survive the infinite celestial void great tribulation, resulting in attribution. Why does it take 2 billion years just for one tribulation? And that's even after I've improved my Daoist techniques and physique. Guan suddenly felt that it might be challenging to reach the perfection realm of the next great realm this time. In any case, first achieve this so-called Dao extreme Daluo immortal. 100 billion years only resulted in 5 breakthroughs, and after the 5 breakthroughs failed, Guan directly invested 1,000 billion years of lifespan. Notifications kept popping up, all indicating failure. 50 tribulations, all ending in failure. Guan continued to invest. 1,000 billion years followed by another 1,000 billion years. Failure. 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 Guan focused intensely, the absolute void eye flashing with a terrifying gaze. The great Tao phenomenon of the endless Tao mountain began to weaken. The figures standing atop the mountain peaks disappeared consecutively, though some remained observing. The grey mist figure on the nearby Tao mountain did not vanish. He looked around, never settling his gaze on the Tao mountain where Guan stood. Guan no longer paid attention to him, focusing entirely on the notifications before him. After failing with 10,000 billion years of lifespan, he realized the problem was significant. Is it really this difficult to break through to Dao extreme Daluo immortal? Or is the infinite celestial void great tribulation more terrifying than he imagined? As Guan pondered, he continued to invest lifespan. Yet, after throwing in a second 10,000 billion years of lifespan, there was still no sign of success.
He frowned slightly and persisted in investing more. After a while, he finally succeeded in breaking through. SEA the novel_fire. Et website on Google to access chapters of novels early and in the highest quality. You cultivate the qi absorption for 58 billion years, and use the great achievement of the myriad Dao extinction skill to forcefully impact the Dao extreme Daluo immortal realm, beginning to cross the tribulation, surviving the infinite celestial void great tribulation, and succeeding in crossing the tribulation. Your cultivation level breaks through to the early stage of the Dao extreme Daluo immortal realm. You cultivate the qi absorption for 10 billion years, and your cultivation level increases. As the notification fell, the lifespan barrier activated again, far more majestic than before. The Dao spiritual qi engulfed Guan, immersing him in the strong light of the great Dao. Just reaching the early stage cost Guan 23,000 billion years of lifespan. He dared not continue to break through. After all, he still needed to save lifespan for the lifespan barrier. First achieve the Dao extreme Daluo immortal. Boom! The dark celestial vault suddenly exploded with a thunderous sound, akin to a great dragon coiling in the heavens, larger than any mountain ridge between heaven and earth, alarming the cultivators practicing within the Dao mountains. In Guan's perception, the auras of more and more cultivators emerged, as if the night sky was illuminated and the stars appeared. He was astounded. Just how many powerful beings are hidden here? Even the weakest aura belonged to a heaven-balancing golden immortal, with most being Taiqing golden immortals, and several auras caused his heart to palpitate. They must be Dao extreme Daluo immortals. Could this endless Dao mountain be some holy land for enlightenment? Guan pondered, seeing that no one was paying attention to the Dao mountain he resided on, sinking his consciousness into the inherited memories. Dao extreme Daluo immortal, the pinnacle of the Daluo Dao fruit, is the ultimate limit beings can reach. To become stronger, one cannot rely anymore on cultivation and enlightenment but must create and develop one's great Dao. In a sense, Dao extreme Daluo immortal is the culmination of the immortal Dao. Beyond that, it's not the immortal Dao but the great Dao. Guan's Daluo Dao fruit began imprinting Dao extreme patterns, with each pattern containing indelible mysteries. As long as the Dao extreme patterns exist, the Dao extreme Daluo immortal will not fall, and the Dao extreme patterns are not merely on the Dao fruit but interwoven within the infinite realm of the great Dao. Even if the Daluo Dao fruit is destroyed, resurrection is possible, though with one less Dao extreme pattern upon revival. There are a total of 49 Dao extreme patterns, meaning the Dao extreme Daluo immortal can resurrect 49 times. Even if dissipated, they can be reborn. A Dao extreme Daluo immortal with Dao extreme patterns is nearly an immortal existence. To annihilate a Dao extreme Daluo immortal completely is exceedingly difficult. Even if slain, they can revive. One can only imagine the despair faced against a Dao extreme Daluo immortal. Moreover, Guan's mana is also transforming, evolving toward the ultimate power of the immortal Dao. During this process, his life-bound great divine power, longevity true words, is undergoing a qualitative transformation. If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know to report so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 650, Causeless Realm. As Guan completed the formation of 49 Dao extreme patterns, his consciousness awoke from the state of enlightenment, and he could feel an earth-shattering transformation within himself. He had transformed into a Dao extreme Daluo immortal. Within the barrier was filled with the intense light of the great Dao, and outside, the dark celestial vault gleamed with purple-red iridescence, both bewitching and terrifying. Guan could sense that the number of cultivators alarmed by this exceeded 100,000, and it was still rising. Nearby, there were also a few Dao mountains where the presence of cultivators emerged, but compared to the endless Dao mountain, these figures were far less numerous than the number of Dao mountains. After attaining the Dao extreme Daluo immortal, Guan's divine sense also underwent a qualitative change. He could feel the end of the endless Dao mountain. At this moment, new Dao mountains were still forming on the fringes, continuously expanding this world. The distant end he could see was beyond the reach of even Miaozhen Daluo Immortal, and with the ongoing birth of Dao mountains, the name Endless Dao Mountain was truly deserving. Before his breakthrough, the speculation was correct. There indeed existed several Dao Extreme Daluo Immortals in the Endless Dao Mountain. Their Dao Mountain stood as the tallest among them, while the Dao Mountain beneath Gu An's feet was like a small hill before Mtitai in comparison, and the Dao intent contained in those massive Dao Mountains was majestic. Even the most mediocre mortal spirit could ascend to immortality while residing on such Dao Mountains. Furthermore, Guan also felt various heavenly court destinies here, similar to the destinies of the celestial spirit god and the 72 immortals of the Golden Cave, even possessing the destiny of a Dao Extreme Daluo Immortal. Guan had a sense of engaging with a high-level map, becoming even more interested in the Endless Dao Mountain. The breakthrough was not yet over, his cultivation level continued to rise, and the anomaly brought to the Endless Dao Mountain began to wane. The elusive Dao rules writhed like a startled swarm of dragons, and the terrifying might of the Dao caused the supposedly unshakable Dao mountains to tremble. Guan summoned his attribute panel to examine. During the breakthrough process, the lifespan barrier consumed 3 trillion years of lifespan, which was not a small number. Guan continued to invest his lifespan into his cultivation level. Any breakthrough was worth it. Soon, he once again seized the opportunity for a breakthrough. Consuming 800 million years of lifespan, he advanced to the mid-stage of the Dao Extreme Daluo Immortal realm. The Dao rules in the world once again raged violently, intertwining heavenly thunders that could destroy the great thousand world, shifting colors, magnificent, and mysterious. This beauty cannot mask their dangerous aura. From the early to mid-stage of a Dao Extreme Daluo Immortal, Guan didn't need to immerse himself in inheritance, he began to observe the Endless Dao Mountain. Attaining Dao Extreme Daluo Immortal, his ability of deduction also rapidly strengthened. He no longer needed to cast spells or use divine skills or the power of the great Dao, he only needed to think to reach the answer. His gaze swept across, and answers continuously emerged in his mind. The Endless Dao Mountain, a holy land of cultivation above all heavens, almost every cultivator who comes here has a significant background. The reason why those figures were shrouded in mysterious black and gray auras was not of their own doing, but because of the protective power of the rules of the Endless Dao Mountain. As long as they stepped into this place, they would be enveloped by the power of the rules, preventing deduction. The Endless Dao Mountain is unowned, and immortal gods, human demons, and demon evils may all come to seek enlightenment. Combat is not allowed here, even immortal gods must abide by the rules. Guan also found a place from where he could leave the Endless Dao Mountain. Different places lead to different cosmic planes, some emanating an aura making him wary to explore. He even suspected that a certain place might connect to the celestial court. Whatever he wanted to understand, he could get an answer, unless it involved a power higher than his own. This was no longer mere deduction but a higher-tier power, a power that could only be unlocked by reaching Dao Extreme Daluo Immortal. Dao Extreme Daluo Immortal, nearly immortal, omniscient, and omnipotent, truly the pinnacle of the immortal Dao. While enjoying the improvement of his cultivation level, Gu An's gaze swept over, gaining a deeper and deeper understanding of the Endless Dao Mountain. He decided to return and have a look sometime later. Although he could not yet determine how far the Endless Dao Mountain was from the celestial spirit great world, he could leave a mark and trace this realm from the celestial spirit great world. Time flowed swiftly. Those existing at the summit of the Endless Dao Mountain merely observed silently, with no one choosing to flee this world. Thus the Endless Dao Mountain did not descend into chaos, and no one arrived at the Dao Mountain where Guan resided. Ultimately, by the time Guan reached the mid-stage of the Dao Extreme Daluo Immortal realm, no one invaded the Dao Mountain where he was located. He looked at his attribute panel. 900 billion years of lifespan remained. He could not break through again. Guan took a deep breath, stood up, and chose to teleport back. Immediately after, he disappeared from where he stood. The anomaly of the endless Dao mountain had not yet completely dissipated, but the heavenly thunders in the sky gradually thinned, and the sound also diminished. At dusk. Daoist field of the beginningless. Guan leisurely continued along the mountain path. After half a day's search, his divine sense had locked onto the endless Dao mountain. When returning to the endless Dao mountain in the future, there is no need to use lifespan for breakthroughs again. Actually, while coming back, he could rely on himself to return. However, considering the presence of Dao Extreme Daluo Immortals and Heavenly Court Immortals at the endless Dao mountain, he decided to proceed with caution. Using 10 billion years of lifespan to ensure safety. No matter how high the realm is, caution is needed, especially when facing beings of the same realm. Guan was in a pleasant mood. After reaching the Dao Extreme Daluo Immortal, he could see further, and the future heaven's calamities were all within his sight, posing no threat to him. He arrived at the courtyard, and his gaze turned toward Shenzhen in front of the artifact refining cauldron. He peered into the causal connection to Fairy Yao Xian within Shenzhen, seeing a line connecting to the outer heaven. He looked up, following that line across countless worlds and universes, and he saw an absolutely black void. Fairy Yao Xian's soul was hidden in that void. Moreover, there were other souls there, countless in number, all of whom were exiled by the path of cause and effect. There were existences of all realms, even Daluo immortals, all immobilized and in slumber. Causeless realm. Gu An's mind received the name of that void, and his brows furrowed. He could feel the threat of the causeless realm, which harbored extremely terrifying power. Despite being a place of exile by the path of cause and effect, it seemed there existed a will in this realm capable of free action, more frightening than the Dao Extreme Daluo Immortals of the endless Dao mountain. It seems rescuing Fairy Yao Xian is not yet possible. Guan silently withdrew his gaze, not in a hurry. Judging by Fairy Yao Xian's current state, she wasn't suffering. Her consciousness had already fallen asleep, losing the concept of time. As long as he saved her before her soul dissipated, it wouldn't matter how much time passed in between, making no difference to her. Shenzhen seemed to sense Gu An's gaze, turning her head to look. Sir the Ovalfire. Net website on Google to access chapters of novels early and in the highest quality. Upon seeing Guan, her expression changed slightly, and she appeared a bit dazed. Although Gu An's appearance, temperament, and aura hadn't changed in the slightest, her intuition told her he had grown stronger again. If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know to report so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 651 White-Haired Ancestor, what are you looking at? Guan asked Shenzhen with a smile. He could hear the speculations in Shenzhen's heart, but he didn't reveal them. Even in front of Shenzhen, Guan wouldn't disclose his true strength. Shenzhen snapped back to reality and asked, the Tianhong Emperor has left. Do you really think relying on him can save the world? These years, the human world has become increasingly chaotic, and she can also sense a mysterious force manipulating the lives of all beings in the shadows. Such a power must involve outer heaven. This is not the cause and effect that the Tianhong Emperor of Dao Void Profound Immortal Realm can conclude, even if he holds a Dao treasure. Guan moved a chair nearby closer to him with a wave, sat down, and said, don't underestimate his potential. He has the talent comparable to Tian Hao. Do you think he seems like an ordinary person? Does he also have an immortal god's background? Perhaps. Hearing this from Guan, Shenzhen could conclude that the Tianhong Emperor had an inseparable connection with the immortal gods. Click, click. The immortal gods are elusive and never to be seen, yet near Guan, they seem not so extraordinary. Shenzhen looked at Guan by her side, her eyes filled with a strange radiance. She was very curious about what role Guan played in the eyes of the immortal gods. Shenzhen jokingly asked, with so many immortal gods appearing before you, the celestial court's target wouldn't be you, right? If one day, the celestial court invites you to join the immortal class, what would you choose? That would depend on what the immortal position is, Guan replied casually.
Shenzhen's eyes smiled into crescent moons as she asked, "What if they invited you to tend horses?" She had initially reached out to Guan because she liked his books and continued to flip through The Investiture of the Gods, Journey to the West, and Supreme Immortal Venerable, to this day. Guan threw Shenzhen a sidelong glance and said unkindly, "You're so humorous. If that's the case, then I'll go tend the horses and bring you along to assist me." "Sure, sure. The horses in the heavens must be extraordinary," Shenzhen said excitedly, causing Guan to shake his head and laugh. The two plotted for some time about going to the celestial court to tend horses before they started talking about world affairs. Shenzhen was very curious about what the mysterious force causing chaos in the human world was. Guan didn't hide it and shared his discovery with her, hoping to increase her understanding of the great Tao. Speaking of it, apart from an Xian, Guan also put great effort into nurturing Shenzhen. It wasn't because he was biased, but because others hadn't reached the stage of enlightenment and were still in the low-level stage of practicing in retreat. Shenzhen was able to achieve her current accomplishments because she received the cause and effect of the Emperor of Eternal Life. Of course, this doesn't mean she was just lucky. After all, she regarded Guan as her only reliance. Unlike the celestial demon child, who has a life-and-death relationship with Guan, she abandoned other connections to choose Guan, which is also the reason why the Emperor of Eternal Life chose her. Everything has cause and effect, behind every coincidence is inevitability. That year, the human world faced a change because a once peerless prodigy from ages past was reborn. The Tianhong Emperor did not return to the Tao court but traveled the lands, suppressing evil forces everywhere. As the world's ruler, the Tao court also exerted efforts to quell chaos. Many prodigies emerged as saviors, the most renowned among them being the current chief disciple of the Tao court, Zhao Rushan. In those chaotic and dark years, the Tianhong Emperor and Zhao Rushan appeared like two stars, wanting to use their faint light to illuminate the entire world. 100 years later. On this morning, after picking medicinal herbs within the Daoist field of the beginningless, Guan left alone. As he walked through the woods outside the field, his figure suddenly vanished. He continued onward, but the universe beneath his feet changed with each step, traversing a cosmic plane. Time and space reeled back, light sped in reverse. His steps seemed swift but slow due to the lack of an end. Suddenly, black gas swirled around Guan, quickly enveloping him. As his right foot set down, he found himself in a dim void. He halted and looked ahead, seeing an endless expanse of Tao mountains, all magnificent and impressive, towering like deities in the distance with divine might emanating boundlessly, full of oppressive force. Endless Tao mountains. Guan had just manifested but immediately felt the force of this place's rule surging toward him, seemingly wanting to cloak him in a layer preventing cause and effect analysis, yet he didn't hide his true form. He continued to maintain the great Tao formless body, for he was also wary of these rules. Once the force of the rules bound him, he felt his actions weren't restricted. It was a very intriguing rule. He stepped forward, admiring the towering Tao mountains along the way. SAR the novel, F.I.R. Enter website on Google to access chapters of novels early and in the highest quality. Before coming, he had suppressed his cultivation level to heaven-opening Daluo Immortal, and not only that, he had also reduced his presence to appear as a mysterious, cautious cultivator inadvertently exuding a slight heaven-opening Daluo Immortal aura. Coming to the endless Tao mountains, he wasn't seeking cultivation but information, wanting to forge connections with the cultivators here and gain more insights into the great Tao. If he could learn more about the celestial court here, that would be even better. He wandered aimlessly, noticing most cultivators occupied a Tao mountain alone, as there were indeed too many. The cultivators seemed wary of each other, too. This could be troublesome. Guan began to miss Bai Zia of Human World Peak. When he first ventured to Outer Heaven, he met the enthusiastic Bai Zia, who even introduced him to Human World Peak. Although Human World Peak hadn't greatly aided his cultivation, it did help him better understand the heavens and earth, which is why he had never severed ties with Human World Peak, cherishing these bonds. He continued roaming, waiting for an opportunity. During this time, he also saw other figures entering endless Dao mountains, most having clear objectives, flying swiftly. Guan spotted a figure that seemed as confused as him, moving slowly and constantly looking around. He hesitated for a moment, then cautiously flew over as if he was being careful. The other was also a heaven-opening Daoist immortal, perhaps having some degree of confidence. They dared to wander like this. Guan previously saw a Taiqing golden immortal enter and immediately hide within a Dao mountain. This heaven-opening Daoist immortal had a slightly slender figure, resembling a Daoist, holding a horsetail whisk resembling a sword. Seeing Guan approaching, he stopped and turned to look at him. "Fellow Daoist, may I ask if this is the endless Dao mountains?" Guan asked, changing his voice. This is indeed the endless Dao mountains. Is it your first time here?" the other replied, their tone slightly cold. "Yes, I've heard the endless Dao mountains contain endless true meanings of the great Dao. My Dao practice has reached a bottleneck, so I wanted to give it a try. The great Dao aura here is indeed dense, even beyond my imagination, but it's different from what I expected." At the end of his sentence, Guan pretended to hesitate. "Didn't expect there to be so many people here, right?" the other chimed in. "Exactly." Guan's tone contained a hint of amazement. The other remarked, "Those who come here to cultivate are truly great powers from various realms. It only goes to show how vast the great Dao is, far beyond our imagination. I had some understanding of the endless Dao mountains before coming, but upon arrival, like you, I was astonished. My name is Wuxia Xianxia, from the misty immortal court." "What's your name, and which sect do you hail from?" "Misty immortal court?" Guan didn't expect the first Daoist immortal he would meet to be from the misty immortal court. He followed with, "My name is Meng Lang. When I attained golden immortal, my sect was destroyed, so I've been wandering without a sect for now." Upon hearing, Wuxia Xianxia said, "With your Dao practice, founding a sect wouldn't be difficult." Guan shook his head, "Forget it. Having a sect means having burdens. I prefer pursuing the great Dao freely and unfettered." "That's certainly reasonable," Wuxia Xianxia agreed, seemingly deep in thought before falling silent. Guan pondered on how to further the relationship. "Fellow Daoist Meng, since you're also new here, I assume you don't know where to head next. Why not join me to listen to a true immortal's lecture?" Wuxia Xianxia invited. Guan was flattered and hesitantly asked, "I follow you? Is that suitable?" Wuxia Xianxia reassured, "Don't worry, I don't have any connection with that true immortal. Their lectures aren't private, anyone can attend and listen." "May I ask the name of the true immortal?" "He is revered as the white-haired ancestor, a highly respected immortal god of the celestial court. If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know to report so we can fix it as soon as possible." Chapter 652, Preaching, the incomparable Liya of today and the past. The dojo of the white-haired ancestor is situated on the endless Dao mountain. Led by Wuxia Xianxia, the two soon reached the Dao mountain where teachings were held. The height of this Dao mountain ranked among the top 10, and there was an abundance of powerful presences on the mountain. They flew to a mid-mountain location where a sprawling open-air palace had been constructed. On the palace, there were thousands of mats, and already dozens of figures had gathered here. These figures were shrouded in the aura of rules, their true forms not revealed. Wuxia Xianxia was familiar with some of them and introduced Guan to these individuals of great power. The atmosphere was quite congenial, and the conversation was enjoyable. Among those who came to listen to the teachings were also Taiqing golden immortals, who dared not intrude on the conversations of the Daoist immortals and stayed at a distance. As Guan conversed with other Daoist immortals, he was also reflecting in his heart. Indeed, no matter where you go, there will always be hierarchy. In any great thousand world, a Taiqing golden immortal would be an unimaginable powerhouse, yet here, they were all very constrained, lacking the demeanor of a supreme being. He only sighed briefly, not giving it much thought.
Those he conversed with were heaven-opening Daluo immortals, while afar, there was a Miaozhen Daluo immortal whom no one dared disturb. Through other heaven-opening Daluo immortals, Guan gained a deeper understanding of the white-haired ancestor, who held a status in the celestial court far above that of an immortal monarch. He also learned that this lecture might last several hundred, or even thousands, of years, with still several months before it began. Guan was not inclined to listen to the teachings here for thousands of years, as he also needed to gather medicinal herbs. So, before the arrival of the white-haired ancestor, he switched to a clone, and his true self secretly exited the endless Dao Mountain, returning to the celestial spirit great world unnoticed by the great cultivators present. Even when in the celestial spirit great world, he could connect his mind with the clone, equivalent to listening in person. Such a method probably didn't count as disrespect, and he thought that other listeners might not all be their true selves either. In the following times, more listeners continued to arrive. With the help of Hongya Zi, Guan met numerous powerful figures from different factions. Hongya Zi even introduced him to a star monarch of the celestial palace. Although this star monarch had only the cultivation level of a Taiqing golden immortal, relying on the celestial palace meant no others dared disrespect him. Even in the endless Dao Mountain, the celestial palace held absolute authority, and no one dared to offend it. Through Hongya Zi, Guan also understood that the celestial palace had little renown across the 3,000 great thousand worlds because the rulers of various places did not wish their subjects to know there was an even mightier existence overseeing them, and the celestial gods guarding the great thousand worlds also gave face by not appearing rashly. This broadened Guan's horizons. Apparently, there were relationships of interest between the celestial gods of other great thousand worlds and their rulers. No wonder people from other great thousand worlds frequently took the celestial order through the world gate. Months quickly passed by. By the day of the lecture, the number of listeners at this dojo had exceeded 800, with most discussing the phenomenon before the endless Dao Mountain. Guan was already seated, patiently waiting for the arrival of the white-haired ancestor. He sensed the aura of a Dao extreme Daluo immortal at the top of Dao Mountain. Surely, that must be the white-haired ancestor. Guan silently compared and felt that the opponent's cultivation might be in the late or perfection realm of the Dao extreme Daluo immortal stage. Although he was already a Dao extreme Daluo immortal, his life had been so short, like a child compared to a true Daluo immortal, so he was full of anticipation for this lecture. He wanted to see how vast the Dao intent of other Dao extreme Daluo immortals was, and how teachings from beyond heaven differed from his own. Dong, a bell sound reverberated through the entire Dao Mountain, bringing quiet to the dojo, as a white light fell from the sky onto the steps in front of the palace, mighty immortal energy dispersing, forming a strong wind over every listener. Guan squinted and saw a figure descending from the white light. The white-haired ancestor. Dao extreme Daluo immortal. Within the dojo, there were only 2 Miaozhen Daluo immortals, and even if the aura of all the listeners combined, it couldn't match the white-haired ancestor. This made most listeners sit up straight involuntarily. As the white light faded, the figure of the white-haired ancestor was revealed. Though her entire form was surrounded by the gray aura of rules, from her silhouette, she was clearly a female immortal, holding a horsetail whisk in her hand, her robes wrapped tightly around her. This time, I will be discussing the path of power for you all. The voice of the white-haired ancestor sounded, melodious indeed, a female voice infused with immense Dao intent, causing the Dao rules on the Dao Mountain to pause. Thank you, ancestor. The listeners all bowed and said, and Guan followed suit in salutation. The path of power? He indeed wished to see what distinctive insights this white-haired ancestor had on the path of power, given that he had also mastered it and held great interest in it. The white-haired ancestor sat down, and beneath her appeared a green lotus, equally unfathomable. Guan even felt the lotus harbored power not weaker than that of the white-haired ancestor. As the white-haired ancestor began her teachings, time swiftly flowed by. Guan's mind was also immersed in the listening, following the guidance of the white-haired ancestor to comprehend the path of power.
While the clone listened to the teachings on the endless Dao mountain, Guan continued living in the celestial spirit great world. Harvesting medicinal herbs had become a regular task for him, one that he wouldn't interrupt. The conflicts in the human world grew more intense, with volatile rulers emerging within various sects and imperial dynasties, inciting more fierce power struggles internally, including within the Dao court. When internal strife engulfed the Dao court, unable to fully salvage the worldly chaos, disorder across the universe intensified. Emperor Tianhong had fully harnessed the power of the longevity sword, capable of contending against the free immortal of Daoist Zhang, yet his pressure continued to grow. He underestimated the difficulty of the salvation task arranged by the supporting Dao sword venerable. Sir, the novel, F.I.R. Net website on Google to access chapters of novels early and in the highest quality. In attempting to align with the Dao court, the result was that the Dao court soon erupted into chaos. Some even coveted his physical body, attempting to possess him. After much fighting, he completely severed ties with the Dao court, and under Zhao Russian's scheming, became a most wanted criminal of the Dao court. He had no choice but to use Dao treasures to seek out other Wuxia disciples still making their way in the world. Guan observed all these scenes without issuing more directives. Until one day, someone appeared in front of the mountain gate of the Jianghu sect, wearing black clothes, a bamboo hat, and carrying a sword, appearing travel-worn. He looked up at the plaque above the mountain gate, revealing a cold face. It was Liya. A divine exotic immortal spirit jumped out of his body, landing on his shoulder. Looking at the Jianghu sect, it sighed, such abundant destiny, far beyond what the supreme sect can compare to, no wonder it's a force nurtured by the master. Liya's gaze was complicated. He took a deep breath and stepped forward. May I ask your origins, sir, and if you have an invitation to join the sect? A Jianghu sect disciple raised a sword scabbard, blocking Liya, his gaze calm as he scrutinized him. Liya took out a token from his sleeve, saying, I have the token of elderly Xuanyu, I am her clansman. The Jianghu sect disciple took the token, examined it carefully, then allowed Liya to enter the sect upon confirming it was genuine. The divine exotic immortal spirit stood on Liya's shoulder, jesting, even though you're already a divine immortal of wondrous dharma, these disciples still don't take you seriously, it seems your cultivation isn't enough yet. Liya snorted, nowadays, geniuses keep emerging, what's my talent worth? Don't provoke me, I am no longer the hot-blooded Liya of old. The divine exotic immortal spirit covered its mouth and laughed, but didn't tease him further. If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know to report so we can fix it as soon as possible.